All right, it is a little after 5, and I will call the planning meeting to order. Hopefully our last of the planning meetings. I'd like to thank everyone for their input as we've gone through this, kind of worked out some of the bumps and the hiccups as we've gone through the process. The goal tonight is to finish with the last two, our last two goals. Make sure and then go back, if we have time, go back and review the action steps that we discussed and see if we want to prioritize those action steps, clean up a little bit. If there are any that we agree that we can remove to make it more streamlined, so we're not trying to make it so it's it's not achievable. We want things on here that are achievable. So our next one, prioritize and implement stages of infrastructure and road improvement plan. And this is different from the previous one, which is sidewalk and multimodal. So this one, we're focusing on infrastructure and road. So I will take any input to get into the action steps on this one. I just have to make it smaller so I can type into these boxes as we're going through it. So that's the only reason it's down like this. Okay. I'll take any input suggestions on the action steps or the committees that we would have involved, any existing documents that we want to work with.
Well, certainly in the area of infrastructure, we just had that meeting with the Farmington people. Talk about the Canandaigua Farmington Water District, North Road and County Road 8. We had part of infrastructure and water systems.
I think you want to work with that sidewalk multimodal as well, because if we're working on roads, we have the opportunity.
Oh, so you're talking, well, we're saying what Dave's saying is if we're working on a road, review to the sidewalks. So if we have a road that we're going to work on, review to the plan and see if we have any sidewalks planned in that area and if it's feasible.
Or if there's an opportunity to go 1 foot wider instead of a gravel shoulder. I don't know what the code is on that, but it would be nice to at least begin to investigate that.
Well, and a soon to have document will be the sidewalk document will be coming up, so that'll be.
I think as an action step, DPW ought to prioritize and develop a short-term and a long-term plan. Hate to give ourselves more work, Terry, but
For roads.
For roads, yeah. So like a 1 year, 5 year plan?
Yeah,
Like
I
a
think so.
rolling.
Or, yeah, maybe a 3 and 5 year plan or something.
But even more than 3 years, even more near term, because we've kind of pushed everything down the road. I mean, maybe we kick a little bit up in the next 12 months just to try to begin the catch-up process. So I don't know what that means.
And I agree. I mean, I just
We gotta get it on people.
Yeah, we gotta get our arms around it,
Right,
whether it's
right.
1 year or 5 or 3
Right.
years.
You already have a 1 year plan. It's a
Yeah.
24 day.
Yeah.
That's the 1 year plan.
Right.
Yeah.
That's in the budget for this year, so. Need to go out further. because
A 1.5.
it's gonna gain
Yeah.
in a year.
Yeah.
I also think, along with that, I've heard Jim talk a little bit about equipment needs. So maybe we need to develop some type of
Equipment,
Asset
capital plan.
equipment inventory or asset plan, yeah.
If I could, we have that, but it
Yeah.
needs to be updated.
Yeah.
So we need to review it, and
In a
then
15-year.
it's a long-term, like 15-year, but it needs to be a
What's the exact name?
capital improvement plan.
But not for the.
Capital
Yeah.
equipment.
It is capital, yeah, it's equipment.
Capital equipment.
Doesn't
It's
that
for-
have a, what do you call it,
Capital
Capital-
equipment plan.
a capital project connected to it as well?
Separate.
Okay.
This is a separate one. It doesn't.
This is just, he's gonna need a new road grader. I mean, it's
It's
gonna wear
all-
out.
because it-
Yeah.
Because basically what it was, before we had the capital improvement plan, there might be 1 year he needs three $275,000 dump trucks, and another year he only needs one.
Right.
So what we do is spread it out to keep the
Right.
budget impact more like a
Right.
train instead of a roller.
Right.
coaster.
Right.
So,
Have you guys heard him say training roller coaster yet?
How long does that extend over?
It's 15 years, but it was done, I think, the last time we updated was
Train.
2017. That's why I say it's to be updated.
So. Okay.
That's probably enough action steps,
Yeah,
other than plan for funding.
What about your complete streets study?
Any existing documents.
and while it's not a committee, help me with how we can put that in there. We do want to reach out to our, any grant opportunities, any funding opportunities with that. So, I mean, that would even be, could I be finance to review the grants? Or, I mean, I'm thinking more like MRB and other places like that, who usually design and then they help going forward with a lot of the grants that are available. Is there any other better way that you guys would like to put that?
This is so lengthy.
Yeah, your silence
Is that an
says,
action item, Jared?
It's talking about committees and responsibilities.
I was,
There's also the,
because it's an annual thing. It's an annual review of the grants, what's available.
Who does that? When do we do it?
We engage MRB if we have a project coming up, if we know we have something coming down the pipe, we engage and look for grants. We get emails and we get updates on grants that are available, and sometimes that matches up, so it kind of depends
Yeah.
where we are.
Doug's always.
We're searching, we've got everybody searching for grants.
Infrastructure with water, I mean, we are dependent on the city for water coming from the city, so that, I'm not sure what the title of the county, the group that was put together here.
Planning.
Yeah,
Department.
Ryan Davis. What's it called?
You mean the economic
development?
Have they, because I think it got paused, right, because of giant, not.
Nothing met.
Yeah, yeah, right.
That hasn't met, yeah. The group that was in the works with people from the different municipalities has not met yet, nor has it been given a name that I'm aware of yet, like a catchy, fancy name, a memorable name. So the county plan, other than the county planning and development thing.
Yeah, I just. we looked at it.
I don't want to lose track of your comment about grants, Jared, because I think that's an appropriate conversation, and I think, it's something we kind of do, I guess, and talk about regularly and, always researching it, but maybe it needs to be an action step or something there to trigger our thought process as we move forward.
Okay. And actually, so that would funnel through you, any sort of grants.
Yeah, we can, well, and Dave, not to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering if.
Economic development.
Yeah,
Maybe that, because especially, because what also comes into play here is you've, I think, volunteered, right, to be the CICs.
right.
And so I think the CIC wants to provide some.
Some of the
advisory
documents,
support to you as you go through that, so maybe that's another way to bring that in.
I'm happy if you want to burn finance that direction too. I mean, it's all kind of, yeah.
They kept wanting to make the TM little, like a little trademark. There, how's that?
What's TM?
Town manager.
Oh. What's DF, what's wrong with you?
Any other thoughts on this one? Jim,
You got any
any thoughts?
infrastructure? and
This is
road improvement?
infrastructure,
What else do you want to do this year?
other than $11 million for an action step.
I mean, funding is, we need to determine, I would indicate that we need to determine where we want to put any excess funds this year towards roads, because that is an action step we're going to be working on in finance.
Isn't that part of the prioritizing?
Yeah, but it's, I mean, some of our goals are not necessarily related to monetary issues. Some of our goals are very much related to money, and this one is one of them, so.
So water is not the only infrastructure item that needs to be addressed. In my opinion, electric needs to be addressed. Because we had as you know, we had a major power failure on Christmas Eve. And I have for years expressed interest in how they know that underground wiring is still okay. You know, that the moles and bowls haven't chewed it up. So Ray Henry always said, forget it. But I live in a house that's had underground wiring for 52 years.
Underground wiring?
Underground wiring.
What's in a conduit though, so it'd be, I mean,
From the street to your house?
yeah.
No, from all the way down Laura Lane, it's underground wiring.
So it's buried.
Yeah,
The
we're very,
utilities are buried down there.
yeah.
That's in rigid conduit,
Yeah.
that should last.
I
How
have
long,
no
Jen?
idea how it gets there.
Forever, right?
All I know is it gets there and doesn't
It's
always
what?
work.
It's not conduit anymore.
Sand.
Everything's direct burial.
Oh, no kidding.
But,
You're definitely right, because I've.
Everything's
I can
direct
see
burial,
it, yeah.
save money.
but there's one other item that in this day and age is
It's
really
not a
needed,
conduit,
and
you're
that's the fiber.
I've seen it.
high-speed internet.
In my yard.
And they put them on the wires. But we have big developments that have their utilities underground. How are you going to get them there?
Well, that's a different issue than electricity.
I know it is.
Right,
right.
But it all ties into an infrastructure item.
Right.
That is in the newer developments. I mean, I'm probably the oldest development in the town, that I'm not the oldest person in the town, but the oldest development in the town that has it. So, I mean, I would love to have fiber,
Right.
high-speed fiber in the internet, but it's going to be a necessity in the future years, and we have to start thinking about it. We can't wait 10 years from now to really
I
say,
would,
oh gee, we should have done that.
These are kind of, yeah, that's something that the town board can ask questions of. but
We can ask, but that,
These are goals for the town board
yeah,
to achieve, which I don't think that's.
yeah, I don't know if that's one that, I mean, we can keep it in our wheelhouse to be available, but if they're, I don't, like Terry was saying, I don't know if we can set that as a goal to try to achieve. We can keep it in the back of our mind.
You can put pressure on.
But
the-
yeah, when the company comes through and they're running their wires on there, we can encourage them to make it available.
Well, you know, you're the spokespeople
Yeah.
for the town residents. And it's very difficult for town residents individually to speak up and say, this is what's something that's needed.
But it's
So
one
we
phone call
elect
to,
you
but it's one phone
do
call
it.
to GoNet Speed or somebody that runs
Yeah.
fiber, like, when are you coming down Laura Lane? And if they say never, then I think it becomes our
Yeah.
problem, you know what I mean? Then, but if their plan is to do that, and if, I mean,
I don't know that. I don't know.
they're everywhere. There's two companies
I'm
running an
gonna-
offshot all
Get some
over the
poles
place
up
running
front.
fiber right now.
What?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put
Yeah,
it,
a lot of polls are putting up, maybe they put one out for you.
yeah, I'm gonna put it there, I'm just gonna put it there to remind ourselves when we come back, when we start kind of cleaning up the list in the last few minutes. It's down there. So I put it down there so we have it to keep it in there.
And you have to think of infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
as a whole.
We try to put sewer up there too. We're looking at County Road 28, other areas too, so. Part of our infrastructure.
But that,
will be. That's something we have some degree of control over also.
is that in the next, I mean, that would be long term. Do you guys want to have,
Well, if it's, well,
But that's maybe in Terry, in that 3 to 5 year plan
You
of
need
sewers. You know what I mean? So that, I mean, in my mind,
you
this
need
is
to
some,
complete a plan to do it.
right,
And that's what we're working on right now,
right.
Yeah.
so.
But I view this as, this is what's gonna happen in 2023. Am I wrong on that? I mean, these are our goals for 23.
You got 3 to 5 years up there.
Right, well, I mean,
More than 23, it's 26.
but it's developed a plan for 3 to 5
Yeah.
years.
That's what I'm talking.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I'm talking about too.
yeah, I think this is to guide us for the next year, but as any of us know, it's really hard to start and finish a plan or a project in 1 year. If we can have a few of these to check off, and then they continue through to the next year, 80% of these will roll over from year to year. But it's just to get us started. So I'm gonna move on to the next one.
Jared, if I can just piggyback
Yeah.
real quick on what you just said, exactly what Jared said, also you need to be thinking about, you're realistically about 90 days from really the start of the 2024 budget.
Yeah.
Process, right? So you need to be thinking about, it's great that this is your 23 items, but it would be really great if you had some consensus about the things you want to accomplish for 24. as you
Yeah.
go into budget season. So.
I guess we're meeting again next month.
I think we just put them down there.
Also consider water south of Cheshire,
I'm sorry, you said.
water south of Cheshire.
Well, that list just got big.
That list is definitely something that we can do. We should have that done by September. Have it done by the end of quarter
All I
three.
want is a simple North
the
Road
rainy season.
sidewalk, and that's what you.
Okay. Watershed protection projects and develop a plan to implement.
I got a couple of existing documents.
Okay,
So we got the NRI. And then that, what's the conservation easement map thing called? Do you remember what that is mean?
I just saw it today.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but the one where it identifies values, the
Yeah, the
properties.
open space.
Open space protection
The open
plan.
space protection plan, yeah.
The NRI is actually in the open space also. It's all in the open space plan.
Is,
The NRI is the index of the parcel, so it's good as a separate reference,
Yeah.
but it's actually part of it.
so I'm gonna do this then.
Well, no, I meant the NRI for the natural resource, which,
It's in. the-
committees, you got the conservation easement team. You got the UCB. You got us, really. Straight up town board.
I would think you'd want to loop ag in on that, because a lot of that's gonna be farmland.
Yes, definitely.
That might be another claim you might want to include is the agriculture.
Yep, in the existing documents.
Okay.
Action steps, meeting with Kevin Albany, which I think we do on occasion. I would say funding watershed projects.
We have a target of the number that we'd like to try to accomplish during a year.
Project.
I
Depends on
know,
the
but like a
cost.
goal that we want to try to,
I mean, to put a number on, you know what they
well,
are.
we know, but we know a number of projects that are available. Do we want to set a goal to try to accomplish,
To be execute on two or
to
three. is that what you're
execute,
saying?
yeah, to execute a couple of them
Right.
this year?
That's probably I mean, there's a number of projects out there that seem to be doable.
Jim?
Kevin and I have been talking with the waters quite a bit. And they are amicable to working with town. on, some of their properties, so I don't know how, you know, give that to detail.
Yeah.
But they're
It could
willing
be,
to sit down. and
Right.
have a
The door's
water
open.
partnership
right,
with
okay.
these with,
Yes, I mean, that's, sorry,
It's a good potential that.
Right.
Something could be done,
At some of their properties.
yes.
Okay.
so continue building partnerships with landowners should be an action step, because I think that's what we've been trying to do, is build relationships with the landowners.
But if you don't mind, we also have external organizations that we partner with, like
Yeah.
Finger Lakes Land Trust,
I'm gonna put them-
BAC.
Yeah.
That even as simple as inviting them to come for an update would be a good action step, so you can hear from them what they're doing and what they're interested in doing jointly with us.
It's not a bad idea.
And then
Maybe
maybe comes
even-
when you can check off.
Put maybe have a
Well-
cabin presentation maybe twice a year, just to, you know what I mean?
Well, as we're figuring out our timing of when the committees are gonna come into, we could have one of the meetings be more geared towards you know, the conservation easement team committee comes in this month and Kevin Albany and someone from, you know, so we're kind of getting a hit, like a theme, so to speak, on that particular day. And if they're all in the room, then they
Yeah.
learn from one another too, so.
Anything else?
Watershed update, it's actually not good.
Is that? Is it? Do they
It's
have
two
it as one
words,
word?
Finger Lakes.
Finger Lakes.
Oh, it's been graded
I
on
don't
it.
know where it is.
We get it. Any other thoughts?
I think that one's got some achievable
This,
things.
yeah, this one is one that we might be able to check off and by the end of the year, a couple of them. All right, now this is gonna be the fun part.
Yay.
This is gonna be everybody's favorite part. Now we're gonna roll back and look at where we started with the first ones and try to identify a couple that that we want to get done. We have long lists. We're gonna have to clean the lists up because we're not gonna be able to get through 7 action steps on 5 goals
You don't think so?
in 1 year.
Really?
Okay,
It's shocking.
I know. Unless we assign it to staff.
That's a great idea. Doug's taking his 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's got 2 weeks
Don't-
vacation. He's ready to go.
Don't pull your neck. Don't pull your neck with that eye roll that hard. You're gonna have to wear a neck brace. Okay, so we're going back to the Uptown bid.
We set a meeting already, so.
We have our
check that
meeting
off.
set for April 17th.
You can just erase that if you want to.
I think this one for the Uptown bid, I think we just leave this one as is, because we're gonna have more issues coming up after that first meeting. But I think the most important thing is to get it rolling, even though we are the Uptown bid. Once that rolls, that will begin to function on its own as it grows. So any thoughts? We have our organizational meeting. After we have our organizational meeting, do we want to, dare I say, have our second meeting with partners once we are a few months in?
I'm trying to add in extra work to your action steps, but Jim and I have been talking about it a long time. I think another action step would be amazing is if you could actually start those lights on 332. God, more than half of them are out. It is so dark out there.
So do we want,
And we have to talk about that, right? 'Cause
well, we need to have a
have to be an
capital,
RFP,
we need to do all that. We need to make a
Right.
plan.
Well, that's it, right? We gotta come up with action steps.
But that's really the first, I mean, and that's the one that we have money for.
Yeah.
In the kitty, so I'm okay with putting up, I don't think that's a whole,
Can I ask Jim, are those seasonal or can that be done when it's not?
all right. So any other,
I have been, I use 332 quite a bit in the past couple of weeks. I've seen quite a few people walking in the road because the sidewalks are not clear. Some of them are cleared, Farnsworth clears theirs. In front of Ray's Diner, they cleared theirs. But it's really dangerous to having someone walking the road, and one of them was a person in a wheelchair. That obviously he wasn't walking, but he was
We've actually-
navigating the road.
We've already purchased some equipment to help take care of.
Yeah,
this.
so that will
That's
be-
something that they've already.
and I mean, I'll put that down so we're aware, once the bid is functioning and once, now that we're collecting a levy,
Yes, yes,
the levy will go pay, that's
Yes,
part of
sir.
it to make sure, so.
okay, and then didn't they purchase a?
Yeah, we did already.
Yes.
You approved it, instead, you ordered it, right? Ken?
We approved it
Yeah.
next April,
Perfect time for shoveling
Fast.
snow. That'll be great.
Does a lot of stuff.
so next snowy season, which is
If
probably
there is
May.
one,
Which is probably in May, we'll have it and be able to clear, so for the Mother's Day blizzard, we'll be able to clear the sidewalks.
Jim can try out. a tour.
Yep, and all that salt savings will be gone after the 4th of July snowstorm that we're gonna have. Okay, we good?
Mhm.
Okay. On to upland improvement.
Oh, wait, can I go back to bid real quick,
Nope.
very quickly? Can we let the, just let the Parks and Rec team and the sidewalk team know that this is going on, so that they're aware of the meeting? That's all.
Are you saying to invite to the April 17th meeting? Or to the further meeting
I mean, just,
schedule.
I don't even know if, well,
We don't really
you
want to,
probably are aware that the uptown bid exists, but you
Yeah.
know, I mean, if,
because I don't think we want them at the first meeting,
Right,
because I
No,
think
right.
to
no.
muddy the waters, we
just
just,
so they're aware
right.
that
it's gonna be hard enough to get us to agree on
Mhm.
as we get down into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Okay, you putting that down there?
I'll mention.
To mention it, to include them on the,
In the loop. is all I
in the
need.
loop, the conversation, the chain for it, okay. Okay, Ananda. This is another one that
I
could
think
be
it's good to go.
executed, that we could identify. Are these things, are these this year? Because the road and parking improvements, that would be pretty ambitious to get that on for this year. Would you agree?
Yes and no, it's going to
Start.
depend on, I know I met with, Lindsay and I met with, Tom Froner from where we, give me where they draft plan of two ideas. We like the second idea, I know I don't have it in front to show you, but it's, less aggressive along the gully and a little more trail that's left to go to get up to, and then also helps with a little bit more of our stormwater we have to manage. Bigger facility for it, and it actually looks quite nice, the second version, so we gave him our comments, and he's gonna go back and add drawing,
All right,
and then he's gonna come back, so.
But Jim, I think that's one of the things that we do need the town board to do, and I know you guys are working with them. But Jared, it's almost like if you add the word plan, I think, to that, because we need the town board to approve the plan, that you are in agreement with the plan on what we're gonna do forward and review it.
the
And then
road
we can
and
start
parking,
executing.
okay, so we're gonna, so
I was gonna make that soon.
road and parking improvements plan,
And they'll run that by parks, Jim, right? That plan, once it gets a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say yes.
so. I'm gonna put, because I think, what are your thoughts on 2023? To get the plan, approve the plan and start the process, or is that something,
But we should be able to approve the plan.
right, we can approve the plan in 2023.
Is the money budgeted for this plan?
Some.
Yeah.
Some,
to
we're gonna have to
start.
phase it out.
It's gonna happen. This is multi, this is probably a 5. You know.
We've got a capital budget for it.
So if we can develop a plan, get the plan finalized, and then initiate some of the work in 2023, that would be
Yeah,
a good milestone for us to achieve.
Right. So will what impact will that cabin is being placed, will that have on any of the work that's done there? And can we place it before their roads in? Where it's gonna go.
Wait, that's part of the conversation that we did have with MRV before. I don't know about this meeting because I missed that because I was gone, but the prior meeting was. We wanted all of that figured out on paper, obviously before. we
Prior
place the
to,
cabin.
yes, yes.
We're gonna bring the cabin in, it's gonna get here, and we're gonna set off to the side until that.
Right,
gets
right,
approved.
right.
So,
But if we could set that in,
because like even a big part of the plan was making sure that we don't screw up the snow tubing thing, right? It's just got all the.
right, right.
going back to, I just want to go back, 332 lights. How long?
Well, it's gonna be months before you see the fixtures, I mean, because they have to be made, so there's probably a 6-month lead time before you see.
Okay, so we're,
I believe, I'm not sure if you saw that, but,
I know you guys are working, but essentially that's gonna have to be contracted out, right? So
Yeah.
if we executed a contract in 23, even if they don't get installed in 24, that would be a huge step forward.
right, that'll be done. Sarah, myself, Doug, Rob Richardson, are working on, funding. We're trying.
Okay.
Chris Jensen.
All right.
Keep up with this, and light fixtures that I think the board would appreciate.
Okay.
For the 332.
Excellent.
What your goal is down there.
all right, so I think we're good with the second one with timeframes. Any comments before I click back? I'm not gonna go backwards, even though I just did for my own purposes. All right, transfer station upgrades.
I think just complete the seeker,
Complete the seeker.
and I don't know if you want to go any further than that, Jared.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it's all.
I don't know.
do we want the programming document to at least know what our flow is gonna be?
No, I think
To
we've
a
got,
point of what the cost could be.
Yes,
Okay, we should take this to the point of programming and going, okay, if we were to build this in 25, what would the cost be, so the town board has an idea of what. they're getting
All right,
involved.
they can give us a budget based on their conceptual. I don't think we ought to spend any more money developing a plan, developing the plans.
I don't recall.
I'd
what-
spend the money.
But Terry, I didn't, do you remember how far the MRB agreement with the town board approved last year? Went with the transfer station, like. We go to programming, is that part of it?
I don't think so. I thought it was like preliminary secret, just getting us through that.
I'm getting us to
I
that
just don't
spot,
know.
Kind of sketch or something.
Yeah, we have to take a look again, but I,
because I'd like to know how much it's gonna be,
Right.
so then we can start planning away for it.
well, we've already got 800.
Yeah.
Well, 15,000 put away for it.
To know if we're, I mean, if we're close, I'd like to know how close we are.
Any money can come out of that. I would-
Yeah, so
Is that part of the?
I mean, and to your point, John, too, to not keep, to throw money after something that might change, I think that's your fear.
Yes.
Just the basic level, not
Mhm.
going in super in depth, but just,
Well, if you give us a preliminary budget.
yeah, just the
I
preliminary,
mean, MRB should be.
Bulk of
able
it's
to do
not
that.
gonna change,
yeah.
really. The layout is not really gonna change.
I would think they build it at least on conceptual.
Right. Travel distance, greater distance.
Well, unless something crazy unless, I mean, we won't know. I mean, we don't know what the decision's gonna be. Okay. Moving on, look at that. Sidewalk multimodal, this is where we might want to pair back on, like, on both of these. Are one and three the same? We're adopting the report. If we agree,
You know, one is multimodal, one is sidewalk.
So I think relative to sidewalks, what we've got a few people working on getting the community feedback as to where we should be putting sidewalks. And I think once we get that information back, we have to prioritize where they should start and how far we want to get within what timeline.
Well, we do, I mean, we have a bunch of master plans telling us for many years where we want to put sidewalks. This
the
is more
community
about
report,
kind of
the
mapping,
community.
this is more about kind of mapping where they are and where
Clarify
we're.
it.
Kind of vague.
So I think we're saying the same thing. We still have to prioritize
Where we're gonna
where
spend the
we're going
money.
to spend the money.
Right.
So let me back up a little bit.
And how long it's going to take.
Our report, and I'm not remembering exact 100% why we put this in here. That's our report from the community survey. Correct?
The community service part of that, there's whatever.
Our side, so we have our sidewalk
No,
envisioning,
no,
right?
no, number one is related to Middle Cheshire Road, because we never adopted that plan. That's what that's related to.
Okay,
Well, no, I thought.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. With that, because we said if we agree specifically, because you don't even know what that report is gonna say. yet.
Yeah.
So you're
and I
gonna
think
have
that's,
to do
yeah,
that.
that's why we said if we agree.
Right.
All right, so we need to clarify this, because if we're not remembering a month later, we're not gonna remember.
We don't.
If we don't, yeah, so adopt report, sidewalk envisioning.
Well, this is number one. Yeah.
Okay. And that community feedback is a little redundant because community feedback will be in that report. Okay. So, and that's if we agree with it. From what comes through. So that's not saying we're gonna have to, because we don't know the report. All right, thank you for helping me clarify that. And the conversation that I was hearing is prioritize goals from the report.
timeline, I would say.
So that's number 2. Number 3 is timeline and budget. I think I can get rid of 2. Develop timeline and budget.
Is that specific to the sidewalk and vision, or maybe abbreviate SER, just so you're specific on what you're doing?
Budget. Okay,
What's SER?
sidewalk division and reward. It's a new acronym we just
Made that
came
one
up.
up.
You know,
Doug, it's Doug's fault.
the one thing we're not doing here, Jared, which, I'll just throw it out there. We're not identifying who's responsible to do these things.
And that's might be another step, or it might be,
I agree that we ought to develop a plan for the sidewalks.
Right. I
with a
hate to
timeline
say
and a budget,
it
but
might
then
take another time, but we need to put that right.
who's
who is
gonna do the-
responsible.
We have to put names on.
Yeah, we
I
do
mean,
have to
I
put
feel,
responsible.
Well, we might be able to go back and have time. If we can circle back and we can go back hopefully and have
Do you mean
that
this
time.
one in particular, or you
For
mean
all of
all of
them,
the
all of
others?
them.
I think all,
of it.
Um,
Otherwise, we're never gonna get it done.
no. Okay, so any other? We need to clean this up more. So we have overall plan for
Okay,
multimodal
kill
transportation.
4, you don't need 4, but well, you don't need to educate the public as part of 4. Middle Cheshire Road easements and engineering has been waiting around for several years now, so that should be something we can attain this year. It was funded last year and we didn't do it. It's funded again this year, we can do it, so.
Maybe just engineering first to see what you need.
And then easements, okay.
Okay, because.
So, okay,
Where's it's laid out and how.
okay,
so you can go to people and say, this is what we're.
so we're gonna finalize,
I mean, I hate to say this, but if we want to keep that up there as a tickler to remember, that's fine. But I think developing a sidewalk plan and identifying what we're gonna prioritize and when we're gonna get it done and what it's gonna cost us. The Cheshire sidewalks, as well as any other sidewalks, fall into that plan, doesn't it?
Well, that has its own plan that was already done, 4 years ago? And it was part of the Complete Streets Plan, it was part of the Trails Master Plan, that
it's
one's.
kind of its own entity.
It's its own special
But
plan.
Yeah.
that plan is an active transportation plan that it addresses a lot more than sidewalks. There's
Yes.
other stuff in
Yeah.
it, so. I mean, yes, it does reference that, but it also references other stuff, and that's in part why it never got adopted. Because not everybody agreed with that.
There was a lot of other stuff that,
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of fluff, a lot of fluff in
So
that,
it
yeah.
needs
A lot of
additional review.
Yeah.
In terms of what it is you want to do to it. So, I mean, to John's point. Once you finalize the other report, you can come up with priorities of sidewalk and Middle Cheshire Road is on there. It's on top of the road.
That'll fall into place. Open for discussion. Do we keep it? The number 4? Do we move? from
I
number
would, since we've funded it for 2 years now and it hasn't.
You wanna
moved
get it
forward, I
done?
would like to get it done.
4? Okay,
Yeah, no, but that kind of, I mean, if it's a reminder, but it's really got to be a plan that's prioritized by someone.
But it's not talking about the whole plan, it's talking about pointing
Pieces of the
miles.
plan, right? Those
So,
are all
yes.
pieces of the plan.
Can I ask, is that the action item though, to go back through the plan and determine what the town board agrees with that you want to focus on?
How can we do that by ourselves? I mean,
Well,
that's,
we can, between the staff and myself, I mean, we can collectively, it would be better to do it in committee meeting than take it to entire town board meeting.
yeah.
Whatever committee, meeting, to go through it and talk about it.
Agree. That's why we gotta identify the responsible party,
Right.
because we're talking about all these things, and if we don't have.
If nobody has it, then it's gonna sit there and it'll look pretty in this document.
well, does everybody agree that we should at least complete the off-road trail on Melchester Road from West Ridge Run to the city line? So I think that's what the Complete Streets Committee wanted, the Trails Committee wanted, the Parks Master Plan wanted, the Middle Cheshire Road Trail Plan wanted, and many residents that I've talked to wanted. So
And I think with that one, I see that one as as its own thing because so many reports already done that have been done have pointed to that.
And then becomes
So that's-
one or two on the
yeah.
priority list.
So then,
You still gotta develop a timeline and a.
so let's keep, okay,
It's going to be extremely difficult to do. Jim will tell you that.
It would really help. if
The number of
town
easements you're
board-
gonna need, you're gonna be in people's
Yeah.
front yards.
It would help the town board to see, have a survey done.
Yeah.
So they can see what has to be
yeah,
done.
and that would be part of the
in order to
engineering.
get Done, so.
And then
That's why the
maybe a big
engineering-
phase, Okay, so
look at the call.
it's just, so. I realize. You know, these are things everybody wants to do. It's just a matter of sometimes seeing in front of you, like, here's our challenges to get this completed a certain way. And maybe we only bite off so much each year, yeah, like people might have going at it.
You really
It's
need to have a
pointy.
good idea of what route it will follow.
You know,
And
we're-
then,
our poles now. If we had to do those poles now, we're out of the right, of way, that's gonna be our cost to move.
So,
Just, you know, I just bring up.
yeah, so we don't get it, yeah, so we don't get too far in the weeds. I'm gonna keep Middle Cheshire Road on here as part of this, to finalize that, because we'd mentioned, and it keeps coming up, and like John had mentioned, then we'll have it here, but we can keep that as, and so we know it's there, and that's gonna be either 1 or 1A. Most likely coming out of that report, but I want to keep it on here. I do want to get, I think we can eliminate 5 and 6, because I don't really. Can we measure educating the planning board other than making them aware of our sidewalks? And then follow recommendations from sidewalk envisionment team. I see that
Just two already.
under this
Yep.
report,
Yep, you can kill those.
so I'm gonna get rid of those. All right.
There's many other existing documents, but I don't know if you want to deal with
Yeah.
adding anything else.
No. No,
So focus on the 2 and 4 here, that's kind of a.
you think that's just a redundant? We do,
It is, but you know, it moves every year, I mean, like I say X and then. the
we
price
can't
goes
afford
up,
X. Okay.
Or something comes about,
We have that, because we were talking about a short-term versus long-term plan, and it brought up that the 284 is our short-term plan, our year-to-year plan. And then we have a 3-year and a 5-year plan off of that.
I'd rather see us have a, I don't say tweet for plan, but like, okay, here's what we need to plan for a certain roads due to their condition and how it's budget for
Right.
them each year, this is when they're gonna get resurfaced.
So that's really going to a 3 and 5-year plan.
Right, I,
So I'm just gonna take that off at your,
which can change.
before I change every couple times a year for,
because
things change.
it's money, right?
So
Okay.
we did have on the other, whichever one it was, maybe it was this, the capital improvement plan, no, it was this capital improvement plan. We haven't necessarily, roads are part of our fixed assets, and they're in our fixed asset plan, but they're not currently part of our capital improvement plan. And maybe that's what's missing here, is we need to think about how we incorporate the information that Jim has with his Cornell Roads program, update kind of a multi-year roadway improvement plan, and then layer that in there. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit more work, but push my.
But, you know, this will help the town when someone says, how's my road? We say, well, is this condition
It's on the schedule for
here?"
27.
It's on the schedule for this year.
So,
You're right.
Which subject to change.
It is something to change,
Funding.
but, you know, at least
But-
we have something.
It's prioritizing the
Okay.
plan.
Right.
People ask that question and you're able to answer it. I agree.
Get rid of, I mean, we know we're gonna apply excess fund balance to this. This is just a reminder placeholder. We are gonna put, some of our fund balance is gonna go in there. Do you want me to keep that there? Because I don't really see that as a goal. That's just, you want to keep it
I
there?
would just remind us to do
It's an easy one to
it.
Since
check.
Talk about it.
Since it's in writing,
Yeah.
all right, okay, here. So 2026, just kidding. Just kidding.
23,
I got that.
24, 25,
23.
26.
Here, this is for Terry. There, little exclamation point right there. And I can even, afterwards going through this, Doug and I, you and I can meet and we can assign, we can create a draft of assigned people. We can create a draft of responsible parties, share it out, get input, so we don't have to take another meeting to talk about responsible parties.
What if you send this document out, we
I
maybe
could
put our names, this
Yeah.
entire document, if there's an area that you really wanna put your name next to,
I think,
put your name next to it,
I
then
think we have to assign committees to
Okay.
each priority from each one of the line items.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not-
And that's what we can, as we go through it, we can do that.
There is, to your point, though, there is some overlap here with the comp plan with some of these that already have assigned
Yeah.
responsibility. And so it's almost, we need to look.
We can tweak it and look at them and then put it out for everyone to review.
Yep.
So we're not, I think it would be more efficient to do it that way and then everybody can give their input. Sure. I jumped ahead on that one. So any other, I need to go back to roads, sorry. We don't have much, anything else to clean up on here? We have water south of Cheshire.
Are we just, for the sewers, are we just updating the sewer master plan? Is that what that's saying?
No,
You wanna-
So you're saying a 3 to 5 year plan for sewer installation and sewer growth?
for the ones that are already in the master plan.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
so more like a 3 to 5 year funding plan, so to speak, as opposed to. So you've already identified which ones are the goal.
Capital equipment plan to include roads, economic development committee grant review. Again, that's just a reminder. All right, I'm gonna go to the last one. Okay. Watershed projects. This one is really an annual. And we will have those meetings, fund projects. We'll have that, that would be accomplished. So these are all accomplished, things that can be accomplished within this year. Any other comments or input on this one? Any other questions or comments on that part? Anything that anybody would like to see changed or anything that they want to go back at and look at? I don't want to go back and beat these up again one more time. I want to let them sit for a little bit. So-
Clarify 2x year annual, one or the other, right?
Can we just use this one as an example, Jared, and just say,
Yep,
who's gonna be responsible for doing this?
we've got time, so
So we
we
got
can,
a couple of minutes.
yeah.
John is begging to be assigned.
No, I don't think it ought to be individuals. I think it ought to be.
Okay, so continued meetings with Kevin Mulvaney Watershed Council. That's the town board.
right.
So that's us, meeting with Kevin, getting annual reports.
I don't necessarily agree.
Where would you put it?
I put it either under the conservation team or the ECB.
See, that's why we have the committees though, right next to it there, and I think that it's
Let
all
them
three
come
of
back
them.
with let them come back with recommendations to the town board. If we say the town board is gonna do it.
Then we're doing everything. And why do we have the
and we're meeting
committees?
Once a month.
Yep. Okay, so
I don't know about that. I would like to hear what Mulvaney has to say. How do I know I'm gonna get there?
I agree.
Because let the ECB do the legwork. And then if we want them to, bring Kevin Mulvaney with them.
This one's a bad example,
Yeah,
because a lot of these conversations with Kevin need to be done in
Executive
executive
session.
session, because you might have to pay for these pieces of property. What you need is prioritization from the ECB,
Yes.
separate, apart from discussions of how.
I think Kevin still has to come in and make a presentation.
okay, so
I agree.
Yeah.
how about this?
I don't know if it's ECB as much as it's the conservation easement team though on these, because the ECB is primarily reviewing projects.
ECB is primarily reviewing projects, that is correct. Okay, so That one's easy, fund projects in 2023, that one's us. I would,
leave that one as is because all the committees over there should all be people that are also connecting with Kevin Aldine.
mhm,
Every time Kevin's come in here, it's about money.
I know,
So I would
that's
leave it.
as town board,
Yeah,
okay.
because it's always asking for money for something.
Land trust for an annual update, could that be conservation team? That they can decide when and how they want to do that, or is that us?
Or prioritize projects if they've got in mind to bring to the town board.
You were gonna say.
We have a joint agreement with the land trust. We also work with the land trust on agriculture stuff. It might be beneficial for you to hear their priorities in the town of Canada, at least
Yeah.
once a year.
Yeah.
They could do a quick presentation in the town board meeting. Because like the Vista project is a joint project between us, and then even the connection that we keep talking about possibly to Ananda, that's gonna involve, right? So
So yeah, this is really a poor example, because so many of these are all
Town board.
involving, they're all involving money and they're all involving,
All right, so
Yeah.
let me ask this question. Is this a staff responsibility?
I personally would like to hear from the horse's mouth, so I'd like to hear from the land trust, I'd like to hear from Kevin. I
Agreed,
mean-
but I mean, there needs to be a listing of what road improvement and what infrastructure, well, I'm talking about groundwater.
Right, that's different, I think that's different, right?
like John, if I just cut the capital improvement plan, there's no way the town will, that I have to work with every single department head, update that, and then bring you a draft. That's gonna have to go through a couple of finance committee meetings, because that's more than you're gonna be able to review in a single meeting. Absolutely. That's got it.
it's you again, shrunk.
That's about, just put DF.
You get to the finance committee and the committees now, that you can sign them something.
Yes, you probably should.
CPW ought to be involved in that too, somehow.
No, leave it there, but put it in
That's a
the middle
big-
too.
That's a big one that crosses over a lot.
Mhm.
Because also what's in there is like buildings and grounds, truthfully, the transfer station goes into that, technology improvements, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into it.
So what we will do going forward, since we need to pause, so we can take a break before the 6 o'clock meeting. Now that we have this, we'll get it shared out again, so everybody will have their copies of it. You should have live access to it. Doug and I will meet, we'll go through, we'll brainstorm, we'll come up with ideas. We'll kind of do a preliminary assignment, keeping in mind the things that we've heard, that all of it shouldn't be just town board, town manager, staff, that we need to have some of these committees that we've now created and empowered to give it to committees to then do the work and come back and make a recommendation to us to empower them to fill the role that we've assigned them to fill. Am I hearing that? Am I hearing that summary? Okay. All right. So we will go. Did you capture that? So if I in case I forget it? Okay, because I might forget what I just said, because that was a lot of words. Okay, so we will work on that. But then we should, we'll need to have that done by our next meeting so we can approve it. And it would be something that would be approved at the next meeting going forward. For our next strategic planning, we will only have 2 instead of 5. All right,
This will be for the remainder, 23 and 24.
and 25, yeah, we'll see. Okay, yeah, all right, so we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting, the planning session. Thank you for your input. And we'll take a few minutes break, and then we'll come back for our 6 o'clock meeting, which will be in about 3 to 5 minutes. We'll start a couple minutes late, and I will go ahead. All right, it is. Thanks for your patience, everyone. It's 6:07. I'll call tonight's meeting to order. Tonight's meeting will begin the meeting with a pledge of allegiance led by David Sutter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gene, can you confirm the meeting was properly advertised?
Yes, it was.
Perfect, thank you. And would you like to call the roll, please?
Councilmember John Casey,
Happy to be.
Councilmember Terry Fennelly,
Present.
Councilmember Adeline Ruda,
Here.
Councilmember David Stoddard,
Present.
Supervisor Jared Simpson.
Present. We do have items of written communication. They're in the correspondence binder, which is up on the table for your reference. This does take us, we do have our first privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who would like to be heard at this time? I'll take these off so I can see a little better too. Anybody online who would like to be heard? All right, seeing no hands, we will continue to priority business. We have two presentations tonight from, what's that? I did not get any birthdays emailed to me, so I don't have any birthdays to recognize, so next month we'll have to do a double batch. We're still recognizing birthdays. Happy birthday to Rebecca Doyle, thank you. And I need to remember that one, because if I forget it, Rebecca, listen back and watch this. Happy birthday. I will hear about it tomorrow when I see her, and I'll be in a lot of trouble. So happy birthday to Rebecca. Anyone else that we're missing, we will get you next month, we promise. So there was a little glitch in communication on that one. Priority business, like I was saying, we have fire departments here for their annual reports. First off, we have Chief McNair from the Canandaigua City Fire Department. So Chief, I'll turn the time over to you for your presentation, for your report.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. I'll keep it brief just because I know you guys have a busy agenda tonight. I hope you had a chance to look at the annual report for both the city and town that I prepared for you guys, but I'm going to highlight mainly the town fire protection district and some of our department highlights for us. Yeah. All right. So basically, I'm not going to go through page by page, and like I said, hopefully you had time to read it. Let's give you a pretty high level presentation for you. Copy. One second here. Let's see if the other one's on here. It is not. Did you happen to get the other attachment I sent you, the PowerPoint? If not, it's okay. I can wing it from this one. Okay, not a problem. Yeah, PDF and
Yeah, I don't have access to it, or what I sent over what I got.
not a problem.
Okay,
We'll do this.
sorry
one.
about that,
Not a
Chief.
big deal. For some reason, it's not showing up on the screen here, but our department roster, department structure, with the city and town's help of able to hire additional career firefighters. Our current staffing right now is 17 firefighters right now, working on my 18th firefighter, 19 including me. We actually send our newest firefighter to the academy, Adam Crandall, actually next week. It'll be hosted by the Gates Fire District in Monroe County. So he'll be there for about 12 to 14 weeks doing his New York State training. We were 2022, we were able to hire Jake Mement, Keaton Kelly, and paramedic firefighter Dan Conklin. They're all transfers from the Fisher Fire District and a welcome addition to the Canandaigua Fire Department. Bringing our ranks to 217, and again 18 right now with firefighter Crandall. Again, our volunteers are holding steady at 5. Again, their time is limited, but they're a huge asset to our organization. And our part-time folks, Office Manager Deb and our fire inspector. Some notable incidents, as you made aware, back in February of last year, we had a fire on Town Line Road. We were able to get there pretty quickly, extinguish fire. It was an attic fire and held it to the area of origin. June, we had a plane crash. You guys all recall that. That was exciting. So, and I got, I'm trying to go to the notable stuff here to keep time short. I'm going too fast. Please stop me, ask me questions along the way. Very high level. Last year, we responded to 2241 calls for service. 95 of those were fires. 1,117 were EMS only calls, and 112 motor vehicle accidents. Of those 95 fires, that includes vehicle fires, brush fires, rubbish fires, cooking fires, confined and unconfined, things of that nature. And again, through the report, you can see the breakdown percentages of our call volume. I'm not going to bore you statistics. Our busiest months are not uncommon. It's typically July, August, and June. Oops, sorry, we're getting more calls today. 1 second, sorry, it's like 3 in a row.
Quite all right.
We average about 200 calls a month, pretty much, and our busiest time of the day in the week is Fridays at 5 to 6 p.m. Rescue and EMS remains our top calls for service. That's EMS calls as well as motor vehicle accidents, entrapments, entanglements of machinery, stuff like that. Service calls and false alarm calls. Actually, our false alarm calls are starting to decrease, not by much, but a little bit. We're through code enforcement, we're trying to really get that out, and from both the town, I give Ron Bement credit for getting out there every day in the town, as well as our code fire inspector Jay Bach. We gave mutual aid 53 times last year to various agencies, and again, you can see the breakdown on that. 10-year incident totals. Last year was our busiest year in our 200+ year history. Again, 2,200 calls, 2,241 calls for service. By month, again, we discussed it, June, July, and August are busiest. So again, we're roughly from 160 to over 200 average calls per month.
Can I ask, do you think that's just based on the population that's coming back in, or CMAC, or what?
Yes,
For all
I
the
mean,
above?
you guys take a ride through, our communities and Friday night, in the summertime, it's wall to wall. I can't even make a left from the firehouse going on Main Street just because it's that busy. So yeah, it's seasonal increase. We kind of factor in roughly about 5,000 people for that. Plus you throw in a concert night, you throw in other events. So yeah, in a nice summer night down the lake, it's busy. Again, you see through my report, everything's broke down in percentages. I'm not going to read line by line. EMS types, this kind of breaks down our call for service. Just kind of what we respond to. Again, we respond to advanced life support calls or ALS calls. Those more severe calls, priority calls to assist the Canandaigua ambulance. On occasion, we do get called for BLS, helping lift or force an entry into a home, or extricating a victim out of the residence or where they may be. So basically a breakdown of our call types. Town of Canandaigua responses, again, this is a thorough breakdown exactly what occurred here in the town. Again, 6 building fires, 6 cooking fires that were confined. It's basically food on the stove. Burnt to a pot, just kind of stayed right there. Passion vehicle fires. EMS calls, EMS onlys, extrications, that they'd be removing somebody from a residence or a car. Any questions on the call types, different series? Okay. Again, I apologize. My PowerPoint had everything broke down. It was a lot quicker. So our mutual aid grid summary. Again, we gave aid to our surrounding districts 53 times. We received their aid about 7 times. With that, we're able to kind of cover our calls more frequently without needing the request for mutual aid into the city and into the town. We have a pretty robust callback system. Basically, I allow career firefighters and staff to respond to any serious call, and they do so. Simultaneous incidents. Again, this is one of my concerns. What this is basically when one or more calls are happening at the same time. You start getting into these, double digits, that's storm related events, windstorms, rainstorms, blizzards, stuff like that. It's rare, but sometimes we could stack wires down, calls or trees in a row, kind of like we had that windstorm we had. But we were able to cover everything in a timely manner and make everything safe. But on occasion, we get 2 to 3 calls. Like right now, we're working 4 calls simultaneous right now. But we're able to cover that with the crews that we have on duty tonight. So yeah, it was 29% of all incidents were simultaneous. So again, it's a concern of mine that we're monitoring and following trends for that.
So that 29%. So that's just based on building off of that 2 or more.
Correct. Yeah. So 2 or more times, it was 638
So
occurrences
30
out of the 2,241 calls for service.
30 times per call.
Yeah.
You're going up
Right.
to at least 2.
Our response times remain constant with, at least since I've been here for the last 5 years. We're in line with NFPA standards. Our response time to calls is actually lowered a little bit to 3.5 minutes. Again, that's our turnout time. We're able to answer the call quickly, get in the trucks and go and be on scene within 3.5 minutes, pretty much anywhere. There are occurrences that we don't have to go lights and sirens blazing up on the road, even though a lot of times we like to do that. But it's just for safety reasons as well as, priority of the call or the incident. Questions on that? How many times? Good. Fire prevention, again, that's more for the city. Our fire inspectors have been busy throughout the year. Highlights, we purchased 30 new Scott air packs, so the breathing apparatus. Has a lot of new technology, a lot of new bells and whistles. Actually has a Bluetooth technology. It sends me a signal in my command vehicle, each firefighter's identification. It kind of looks like that screen there, and this is their kind of accountability tag, how much air they have. I can actually remotely activate what's called a pass device or an evac alarm on their packs and get them out of a building should my radio system go down or just switch radio traffic. It vibrates, it lights up. The new technology also has lights that face the fire officer or the other firefighters. They can see through different colors how much air they have left. So there's a lot of new safety factors incorporating these new packs. And I applaud John for helping me obtain these, as well as City Council for approving the budget last year to obtain these. So, but with that, we got rescue equipment such as like our fast equipment, which is a separate cylinder we use if a firefighter goes down that we could hook to them. So we got 2 of those packs and what's called a pack tracker. It's a mobile pack tracker that was kind of like a beacon that we could chase firefighters down and locate them in proximity to the building. So that's exciting. We just put those into service recently, got them all trained on, and we're going through that right now. Again, we discussed our new hires. We ordered a new engine. We're supposed to take delivery in about probably 1.5 years, 2 years. Unfortunately, supply chain is terrible, but we're working through it. As such, our tower ladder is being built as we speak. I leave Sunday to Florida to go look at it, get eyes on it. It's a lot farther along than this right now. We're supposed to take delivery hopefully by end of April, they're saying right now.
It better be.
Better be.
Better be further along than that.
Like that looks kind of like
Yeah.
playground equipment,
Yeah.
right?
It's in Ocala, Florida, the E1 plant. And that's where we got the engine to is to that. But this will be built in Buffalo. So when the time comes.
You need me to go check on the Florida one?
You want to come Sunday? We got room. The
You got room
company's
to
paying
drive?
for it.
Yeah, we'll go down. Yeah.
You've all seen my vehicle we placed into service last Memorial Day. It's a new command vehicle. Again, it has a lot of technology and radio equipment, some whiteboards, accountability boards. It's been a huge asset to the department so far, and it's a comfortable ride. We repurposed the DPW plow truck for our special operations division, pulls, trailers, boat, gets equipment, whatnot, plus has a plow. So if anticipated, we had that nor'easter that actually go in front of the engine, and for some of the long driveways such on 28 or North Road, we can kind of plow room for the ambulance if we kind of anticipated doing that. Thank God we did not get the snow that was called for. Just touch on some training. Our special operations division, I sent the whole department back through confined space for a rescue technician to New York State, including myself. That was a fun class. We did that a lot at the water department here on Westlake Road, as well as some in-class instruction on that. Some lifeguard drills, training with the lifeguards. We did a joint Ontario County rope team and fire department, as well as with Farmington Fire Department, and a couple other ones in the area. Did a grain bin rescue simulation at the Stryker Farm. Thank you to the Stryker family for allowing us to do that there. Many years before that, actually had a true emergency there, and we had to get Mr. Stryker out. So we simulated something similar to that, but we did a little bit more high angle stuff, and a little bit more technical type of rescue. Couple highlights. Captain Jay Bach and firefighter Ryan Foster, November 12th. Basically, we responded to a person that was having a hemorrhage, a severe hemorrhage after surgery. They arrived there pretty quickly and controlled the bleeding. They actually pinched the person's artery off in their femoral artery, held it all the way to the hospital so they could get treated. I put them in for a letter of accommodation, as well as they'll be recognized at the Ontario County Safety Council banquet coming up in next week for their service there, as along with Canandaigua Ambulance. Just going to kind of run it out with fire prevention and community risk reduction. We've been working a lot with building a community risk reduction program. Basically, it's not just doing fire life safety education, that's incorporating fire inspection, some incentives, different types of means to reduce the risk for fire and injury. I recently just took a 2-day class from the National Fire Academy, got certified in community risk reduction. So we're going to be building out our program even further, not just going to all the schools and all the school-age children, doing the EDIS program or general fire safety topics, but working with our community partners such as, Pactiv and Akoustis and other large manufacturers and companies in the city and the town, and rolling out a more robust fire safety education program. And I just gotta say, those are my kids right there, so I had to put them in there. So, yeah. Again, Captain Sam Lacano, he heads up fire safety education and does a fantastic job with that. We go to all the senior living centers. We continue to do smoke alarm installations. We are awarded a grant for Thompson Health. We rolled out a program for hearing impaired smoke alarms, something that was lacking in the community. Reached out to the school district. They actually have dibs over it. They provided me some names. We were able to get some to families in need. And actually, we're going to roll the program out a little further and open it up more. Again, some more outreach against Pack the Safety Day, Gallo Winery. Something that is now going on its third year this year is the Trolley Station Beanbags and Barbecue event. DePaul invites us every year to compete against law enforcement, all in Canandaigua EMS. Basically, everybody responds to Trolley Station apartments on a regular basis. So we team up with residents there and have a friendly game of cornhole and barbecue, and it's always a good time. And just kind of round out again some of the other community stuff. We work with the residents, the community residents on Gibson Street, and we deliver Santa Claus every year and give them hot chocolate and pizza. It's 54 years, longstanding tradition of the union has been doing that. Other than that, any questions? I'll try to keep it pretty brief.
Yes, sir, I have two.
Yes, sir.
First, I'd just like to say thank you, Chief, for everything that you and your team do. I think you do a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Two questions. First one, I didn't see anything in your report about water rescue. And I'm wondering what was, and I know you just got a boat, and I was wondering whether all of those calls will be being diverted elsewhere prior to you getting the boat, or talk.
We still get called. So in the breakdown there was about a dozen water related calls last year. Some include cold water, like ice. I could pull that back up.
You respond to all of those in the town and the city?
In our response area. Basically, before dispatch, we didn't have a good handle on being able to identify in the lake where the location was and what department to send. Would it be Crystal Beach? Would it be Cheshire? Would it be us? Would it be somebody else? Their technology just got better, and they're able to really pinpoint location. And we've sat down and discussed kind of our districts. So now our lake district goes to the Gorham line all the way to Butler Beach and everything north. But anything significant, both departments are going to go because that's, we're just going to send everything we can. And just talking with law enforcement, the sheriff doesn't man their boat, and that doesn't really have the capability to do water rescues as well as, fires or any like oil or fuel spill on the lake. That's where we were going to step in now with our new boat. Right now, it's being worked on right now, and everything's getting rehabbed and put back in service. So we'll get it on water hopefully in April, May at the latest. But yes, that is our district, is to the Gorham all the way to west to Butler Beach and everything in between.
Where's the boat gonna be positioned?
Is City Pier. Yep, it'll be on the east side of City Pier, kind of closest to Sager Marine.
Second question I have, and it's for my own edification. How are the calls segregated between you and the Canandaigua Emergency Medical Service?
So basically, it goes by a priority scale. And the call taker has a set number of call or questions that they ask the person on the phone. What's the significance in the call? What's the injury? And so when they go through that list, it populates, okay, is this going to be a ALS call or advanced life support call where we need more people on scene? Or is it just maybe somebody fell, they're not hurt, they just need to be picked up? So through that questioning, that's how they just determine exactly who goes and why. You see a fire truck on some calls and why you don't see, or sometimes like today, we had a call where it took 2 fire trucks, me and two ambulances, and it obviously be more of a cardiac arrest type situation.
So the operator, when she's getting the answers to her questions, plugs that into a program, and then that program determines whether you and Cheshire might respond or see.
Correct. Everything is programmed on a run card,
Yep.
and it's kind of they call it a recommend list. And again, I don't want to speak for dispatch. That's a whole different, animal. But yeah, everything is pre-canned. And even like our mutual aids, when I call for a second alarm fire, I already have Cheshire coming. I have other departments in the area. So we just take the brainwork of me. Okay, give me this department. Give me this department. It's just give me a second alarm. I get XYZ coming instantaneously. And it's just at a one keystroke from the dispatcher or the call taker.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Anyone else? I would, yes.
Chief, at the beginning, you mentioned firefighters. I just want to clarify. With firefighter Crandall, you currently have 18 plus yourself makes 19.
So with 18 total with me, we still have one opening that we're hoping to fill in June. I do have some interest. We also just had a firefighter exam, and the results won't be out until May, or I'm hoping I'm going to push New York State hopefully to get it up quicker. But yes, it'd be 17 currently on the roster right now, 18 with me. But I try not to count me. But when we hire that firefighter in June, that'll give us 18. That'll give us 4 firefighters on duty 100% of the time. I like today, right now, I have 4 firefighters on duty. So actually I had 5 because firefighter Crandall was here still training. So yeah, that'll be the norm here soon.
I do have a call. I do want to thank, I brought Sam in to speak with some kids at school, and he did a great job. And I just want to commend you for that outreach that you have. And thank you for your service to the residents of the entire community. And I do want to apologize that I neglected to recognize the new manager, John Goodwin, who is here with us as well. I know it's more important. I just didn't want to forget that you were here, and put you on the spot for a second, just to have to do that awkward wave and say hi, everyone. So there you go. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. So now we will be hearing from Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department and Chief Chris Brown.
Chief, I think it's the next tab right next to it. Go over to the top. Yeah. Whatever. There you go.
Okay.
Cheshire, Egypt.
It's close enough.
Thanks for having me. With me tonight, I have Assistant Chief Chris Milne. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Chief of Cheshire. There's a couple new board members that I haven't had the privilege of meeting yet. I've been in the department for 20 years. I've worked my way up to chief. I've been an assistant chief for 5 years, and this is my 3rd year as as the department chief. So a few things we'll go over today: introductions, challenges and accomplishments, community considerations, and risk management. We'll reiterate that we're 100% volunteer and how we sustain that. We'll take a look at our operations and leadership team, the 2022 call volume and response status, or response summary, I'm sorry, present and future positioning, department highlights, and closing comments. 2022 was actually not our busiest year. 2021 was. So 2022, we ran 538 calls. That includes fire and EMS. I believe in 21, that was our busiest. We ran, I think it was 608. Public demands for service remained high while competition for funding not only continued, but was exacerbated by an extraordinary acceleration in inflation. So obviously we all feel that in our pockets, and inflation. As a department, we feel that too. Municipalities and individual taxpayers, volunteer organizations were stretched to meet short-term financial obligations and to plan future capital expenditures, especially with cost and delivery uncertainties. So like Chief McNair mentioned, the supply chain is not doing very well. So any kind of, planning for capital projects, trucks, so on and so forth, that's kind of put us behind on when we can get, when we can get those. So for example, like new trucks, we have our 10-year plan for new vehicles. Let's say we need to replace something in 2026. We really need to start looking at that now because it takes a couple years now to get those trucks in. Challenges and accomplishments, our aging fleet. We spent actually 40% above budget last year. And again, inflation, the cost of parts, supplies, made those costs go up. The NFPA mandates continue to drive scheduled apparatus and equipment replacement at much higher costs. Fleet management team successfully completed a revised short and long-term apparatus plan designed to meet community and department needs. So with that said, like I said, we have that plan. We've had to kind of tweak it a little bit over the last year just because of that supply chain. One of the accomplishments we had was our new 431. We got that, I believe it was in May, which replaced a 22-year-old pumper tanker that we had, and that was about $800,000 with the equipment. We just purchased a technical rescue trailer. We purchased that with the funds of our memorial fund. We just got it loaded up not too long ago. We're still outfitting that right now. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, it'll be in service. That'll hold all of our water, most of our water equipment, technical rescue stuff, brush fire stuff. We have our leadership team actually didn't really change much from last year on the operations side. We had one lieutenant swap out with somebody new, but other than that, our operations team stayed the same. We grew in membership, which you'll see in a later slide. Community engagement, we actually grew with that too. So over the last couple of years, or last few years, we never really went out and did any kind of outreach to these communities. So we went to the Hammocks, Quail Summit, Cheshire Glen, Fairfields, Clark Meadows, and we've had the Boy Scouts in several times. Hoping to continue that. Whereas in the city, they have a lot more opportunity. They have schools, they have more facilities, so on and so forth. This is kind of where we're at now, but we do get a lot of calls at the senior facilities. So if we can get in there and we can, help them understand what to do in case of a fire, hopefully that'll bring the fire numbers down. We don't have a lot of fires, but we do have a lot of, burnt food. Somebody left something in the microwave for 15 minutes instead of pulling it out, melted the plastic container. So if we can help get these people to understand that, it's better. We had the City of Canandaigua School and across the road for a painting on the wall. I don't know if, I know Jared, you
Yeah.
stopped by a
It was
couple times.
What she had those kids doing was amazing.
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to check that out. The mural is beautiful.
Yes, and we've posted that on our Facebook page a few times, so it is very nice. The first couple weeks of them, painting it, everybody was like, oh my God, what is this gonna turn out to? Because it was very, very early stages, so a lot of pencil, a lot of erasing and whatnot, but it turned out very nice. As you all know, we had our contract negotiations, which will ensure CVFD viability and platform from which to provide fire rescue services from 2023 to 25. We'll go down to the community considerations and risk management. We have our high hazard occupancies, which are nursing homes, assisted living, elder care facilities, our medium hazard occupancies, which are apartments, so your townhouses, hammocks, Brookside, and then your low hazard occupancies, 1 family, 2 family, 3 family dwellings. Risk management drives apparatus, fleet configuration, types of tools, equipment in their locations at both stations. And based on those community changes and need to replace another aging engine, we're actually looking at a new engine, which is a CAVS system engine. So it's compressed air foam system, which is better for your high density living in residential populations. So it's got a 5 to 7 times the extinguishment power of straight water. It's 50% lighter hose, 30% better reach, faster fire knockdown, heat reduction, and less property damage. So that's the next engine we're looking at. We've gone back and forth. We've talked to several other departments that have had that engine, that currently have that engine, that have had it in the past, what they liked, what they didn't like. So we're taking all those considerations right now. Again, we're 100% volunteer. These numbers over here didn't really change much as from last year. If you looked at last year's or from the previous year's presentation. New additions, we had 1 new EMT. That should actually say 2. We have 2. We have 1 that went through the class. We had 1 join us that already had her EMT. So there's 2 there. We had 1 experienced firefighter come to us, and we had 5 new that are actually will be going through BFO that was just announced. BFO is your basic exterior fire class. That was just announced today. So there'll be all 5 of those individuals will be going through that within the next couple months. This is the operations leadership team. Again, the only one that changed here is Brandon Emo, who stepped in. He actually came from Pittsford Fire Department. He's got a few years on at Pittsford Fire Department. So he came to us with experience, which is the reasoning that he was moved into a lieutenant's position so quick. These are the call types, call volume. Again, we did 538 in 2022. You can see the difference here. I think mainly it's your EMS. I think 2021, I adjusted some of the call types that we respond to, like what Chief McNair was talking about with, ALS, BLS. We were responding to a lot of BLS calls, a lot of calls that we didn't really necessarily need to be there for. Somebody falls down, stuff like that. So I adjusted those calls to respond to the more serious calls within the district, which I believe is the reasoning for the drop in the EMS calls there.
What's good intent?
Good intent would be.
So basically, if say somebody's doing laundry, the dryer vent was creating steam outside, they thought it was smoke.
Small.
Someone's house on fire.
So
You get there, the good intent that somebody called, but it wasn't anything more than the dryer vent or whatever.
So does that mean all the false alarms are bad intent?
No, I mean.
No,
No, so false alarm could be a faulty detector, a detector going off and a faulty detector. Something like that. Continuing on to the response summary. Again, you can see the EMS here drop there. Mutual aid calls are down here. That includes, all mutual aid. So Bristol, we respond to Bristol, Naples, Canandaigua, Hopewell. We're on Hopewell's automatic for structure fires. Basically, whoever calls us, we go. Present and future positioning, great faith and confidence in CBFD's organizational leadership teams. That's the company and the line officer. So your admin side and your operations side. To effectively manage and organize the organization and continue to embrace and employ the strategic plan and 10-year financial master plan. So we have that 10-year financial master plan that we are constantly looking at, seeing what we can do better, seeing what needs to be changed, so on and so forth. Finance Committee and the treasurer continue to identify financial resources necessary to sustain the 100% volunteer organization. So again, the being 100% volunteer obviously saves the taxpayers from having to spend quite a bit of money. There are advantages obviously to a paid department, which we all know. One of them being response times. As a volunteer organization, we're actually very, very good for response times that we have. We didn't drop any calls last year. If all you got to do is listen to the pager or your scanner and listen to the departments within the county that just have no response at all, and then they have to mutually it to another department. We always get a response, which is good. Financial resources closely managed, income versus expenses, accruals and other resources for capital expenditures, managing the existing debt and payoff schedules. Our Station 2 will actually be paid off next year. So once that's paid off, we'll finally have that done from hanging over our heads. The fleet, we constantly look at our fleet management plan as well, like I discussed earlier, to kind of see what we need to start ordering or start looking at now. Equipment to the NFPA standard, and then facilities for your potential capital expenditures. Fundraising initiatives, barbecue chicken sale, which we actually have a barbecue in another couple of weeks. I think it's on April 2nd. Boot drives, we have a couple boot drives each year. If we do one during the Naples Fest, and then we do one or two here. Actually, last year was our first time doing one or two here, which was very successful for us. And then our yearly fund drive. Department highlights. I wish that truck wasn't right there because those are the kids that painted the wall behind it, and that was the reveal of the wall. And I didn't think about putting another picture on here. Ononda Park, we did an event, the Halloween event down in Ononda. Parades. This was a car fire on Cooley Road that we responded to. And then closing comments, just remind everybody of our mission, providing an appropriate, safe, and professional response to fire, medical, water, and environmental emergencies for the communities it serves and mutual aid partners. I've been in this department again for 20 years. Very proud to be the leader of this department, very proud to serve the communities that we serve, and appreciate all the support from the town residents and the town board. Any questions for me, comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, Chief, but wanted to express my gratitude to the Cheshire Volunteer Fire Department. Nearly 10 years ago, you were one of the first responders to my accident, and as in part wasn't for you folks, Phoenix good at doing what you do, I wouldn't be here today. I'm sure some of the people here on the board in the room might not be so happy about that. I just want to express my gratitude and just say thank you very much.
Awesome, great, thank you.
Here, here.
Appreciate the comments, thank you.
I can chime in too, you guys. Been to my house a few times over the past few years. Statistic up there in your
Yeah,
numbers.
you
So
are.
thank you and
Yeah.
Frank, Chief. Some of your guys always show up too, so we're really fortunate to have all you guys.
Thank you.
Really. One question.
Yes.
It's kind of What happens to retired fire trucks? I mean,
We sell them.
we 20-year-old truck is,
Yeah, so there's a lot of departments out there, a lot of southern departments, southern state departments that don't really follow the NFPA. Which we won't get into that, but those are the departments that buy them. So our 22-year-old fire truck we sold. They didn't even come up and look at it. They sent a flatbed truck up here. They said, put it on the flatbed truck and we want it. So that's what we did. So there are sites out there that you can sell trucks on.
oh, standards. Like NFPA, they don't necessarily subscribe to their standards and.
They,
follow their
I guess they don't,
recommendations.
I mean, when you think about it, a lot of these southern departments, they have not a lot of money at all. So they get what they can get. So.
Thank you.
I was just gonna mention that at the Ananda event, I was able to tour the engine 431 with firefighter Roxon.
Yes.
I was really glad to see the additional safety features in there for all of you while you're out there working. It was a great, really nice addition, so.
It is very nice. And that, that, I wish I put more pictures on here. That truck is actually a very basic truck, but it still had a lot of the necessary features that we needed for safety and whatnot.
Also, of course, my family's thanks to you all.
Yes.
Anybody else? So thank you from all of us.
Absolutely.
And thank you for your continued service to the town from both of you. And I would at this like to take a minute and thank the town board and also the residents of the town, because ultimately it comes from all of you for your willingness to continually fund the departments, because there's a line on your taxes that goes to fire protection. And all of you, so many people so willingly, they see that and that's one of the things that you hear all the time. I'm grateful to contribute that because it helps with our fire protection. And we have a board that is very willing to support that. And I'm thankful for that. And I thank all of you. And yes, John, we're all glad that you are here and that they were there that day and that they did not ignore the call. So for the record. So again, thank you very
Okay,
much
very good.
for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief and John.
Yeah, and well, you guys, if you guys don't want it, you guys will excuse you.
You
if
can
you
run
want.
away.
Thanks for coming. John, did you see this? All right, moving on. We don't have any continued public hearings at this time, but we do have a new public hearing. Public hearing to rescind the moratorium on the local law and large-scale solar energy projects in the town of Canandaigua. And this pertains to resolution number 89 on tonight's agenda. So at this time, I will declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone who would like to be heard at this time on this topic? I do not see any hands in here. I do not see anybody online. One more time, is there anyone who would like to be heard? Unless there's objection from the board, at this time, I will declare the public hearing closed. We have a second public hearing on another local law to amend the town code chapter 220-9, regulations applicable to all districts to clarify the definition related to water course. This time I declare the public hearing open. I would invite anyone who would like to be heard at this time to come forward. I do not see anybody online. I do not see anybody in here. If there's no objection from the board, at this time I will call this public hearing closed. All right, reports of town officials and department heads. Jim, do you have anything in addition to add?
Yeah, what Albany has for 200 million more for CHIPS funding. He has a surplus of around 4 billion. So we're hoping to see some sort of additional funding come towards funding for local highways and throughout the town. we'll know shortly in April, what the budget is through.
Hopefully we get all. of them.
Yeah, we'll get all 200 million.
How is it? Any thoughts how it was received?
It was received well. There was bipartisanship on both sides. Just a matter on what the government wants to do.
Will it go through?
Will it go through?
Right, okay. Well, thank you for doing that.
Our plow truck, after 22 months later, should be in a month. So it's right on time.
Just in time
We'll
for
have to do a
April.
budget
Nice.
amendment, because we didn't encumber it twice.
Okay.
Okay, so that's something that I'll look to Doug on. That leads me to the next conversation at the finance meeting, again, Doug says budget's coming up, we should order the next plow truck, they'll show me 25. That one else about 30,000 more than last 2 years ago truck. So that's at 291 right now.
291,000 for the truck?
266, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
So again, those are some numbers for the budget that we have to discuss.
yeah.
Okay. Working with Wayne County, Ontario County, we're looking to put a bid together for salt next year. Speaking of Dyer County and Cuba County, we've got some ways to save some money, so we're working on that. McDelicate and I are working on that project. One good thing, for some reason, Ford has decided to build one of the parts trucks. We got a serial number, so that'll be coming sooner than later.
Nice.
And then, I'll be coming back to the board with a resolution for lead and copper rule that we have to do by end of this year with MRB. We budgeted for it this year. It's a very labor intensive document that they put together how to take all the data in the town for us to go out and then start dissecting it, because we physically have to go out to almost any home between 84 and 96 when lead was in solder. And then we have to also look at the connections. And we also generalize that if, like, I'll take Airline subdivision was built in 2010 to say. These homes were all built in 2002, we kind of write them off. It's that period of 84 to 96 that we have to do a lot of documentation. And at the end of the day, what it'll come down to is when you sell your house, you're gonna have to say, I did this report, I reported completely when you sell your house. Because if you don't do what needs to be done, if you have a lead solder, a galvanized pipe with lead interior, any fittings, that's like a fixture, if you ever replace those, you have to disclose that when it comes time for the sale. The
Is it
town
Internal, in the house.
inside the house, yes. Yeah. It's not on the front of the van,
Why that's a, you know.
because that's what EPA said.
Should be the enough answer right there.
You're gonna do this, have a nice day. It's gonna be a good time.
I'm excited for you.
Oh, so am I.
Terry, wasn't your house built in there?
Yeah.
So they'll be just going out here. I'll come to you in April for that,
Okay.
so. And then we'll be looking for, I'll be looking for a new person highway, there's someone who's leaving for another position in another townships.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thank you very much.
so the first quarter water bill coming out. And we'll be ready for those.
All right. All right. Thank you, Gene.
So as part of my report, I indicated in there that I had requests from a city resident, well, no, a town resident who made a reservation back on February 22nd. On March 9th, she called to cancel. She called me back and said, well, can I get a full refund? And I said, sorry, we don't do that. Because it's a pavilion. It was for the Rotary Pavilion down at Ononda Park. And I told her we don't do reservation, we don't do refunds for pavilions, we do for lodges, halls and cabins. She called me back and said, well, I've given you plenty of time to be able to rent the facility. I want my money back. And I explained to her, sorry, I can only give you a refund under extenuating circumstances. And the reason she was asking for the cancellation was she was going to have a gathering to celebrate her daughter's wedding up here in New York, who is getting married out of state. And that those plans have fallen through. And so she was canceling the pavilion. So she goes, well, can I take it to the town board? I said, sure, absolutely. Send me a letter. And that's why I'm in front of you. She is asking because let's see, it was for August 5th. So April, May, June, July, 5 months ahead of time. She thinks it's plenty of time for us to re-rent it and that we should give her a full refund. So I'm looking for something from you, either a motion to deny the request or a motion to approve the request to either refund it or not.
Is it a deposit or is it the full fee?
She wants the full refund of $117.69, which includes the credit card fees and the book your site fee, and there's one other fee, but yeah,
How long did she have it reserved for?
she had 2 weeks.
So 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we usually, for the ones that aren't pavilions, if you end up doing a refund, there's still a $50.
There's a-
Still $50, yep.
When you say it fell through, you mean the wedding fell through?
No,
Or just the plan to use her pavilion for?
her retention was having a post-wedding celebration for her daughter who lives in South Carolina. Plans have now changed and the post-wedding celebration is not going to happen.
And she was privy to that policy that there were no refunds.
100%. It's in is it in that paragraph, that page, when they go to book online? But it's in our fee schedule. It's on our website. It's very clear and yes.
I think it actually gives you a little heads up after you book it too. so
Yeah.
That's.
I tried to be the bad guy, but she wouldn't take it. So it's up to you.
I'm not gonna say anything because I know the person, so I'm gonna let the board, I'm gonna let you guys speak to get your input.
Well, thanks. Sharon.
So I'm just gonna,
So what do we need to make a motion to?
Approve or deny.
Approve, deny the request. Just remember, if you approve it, that opens the door for other people.
Yeah, I make a motion that we not approve the request and not give this person a refund as per the stated policy and all of our literature.
Anybody second that?
No second.
so for discussion, it's consensus. Is the feeling to stick with the policy? Is that where people are?
Gina and I had a discussion about it and it was just mainly about precedent setting.
Yeah.
I understand the situation. And I do appreciate the fact that we do have 5 months to re-rent it, which it's a Saturday in August. I'm pretty sure that we will do that. And I don't know if it makes sense to review the policy as is.
With a timeline?
Not necessarily with timeline, but with I think the reason we don't charge them on pavilions, they're usually pretty inexpensive. This one is a little more expensive, but Gina indicated it might make it a lot more difficult if we start making exceptions for, well, all the pavilions except the Holden Pavilion or, whatever. it is.
How was the reservation made with the credit card?
And the fee.
Yes.
So my experience with credit cards is that if you don't receive the goods and services that you have paid for with the credit card, you can go and dispute it with the credit card company, and then it becomes an issue that goes back and forth a little bit. And I think what I heard previously, and I understand the desire to stay with the policy and not open the door, but I understood that our cabins or the facilities were pretty full last year. And in the fact that we have 5 months to go and fill this opening in this void, I tend to lean towards giving the money back to the person. I just think it's not a customer friendly thing to do to hold back, but I also understand not wanting to set a precedent, but I believe that we ought to be customer oriented and customer friendly here at the town. And I support the money back to the person.
Are you saying the full $117 or do we keep
Yeah.
$50 of it?
I could not hear what you said the breakdown was for that because there was some noise, but
Sure. So I can give you the breakdown.
yes, please.
The cabin or the pavilion was $110. The cart fee is 5 cents. That is a cart fee that the town pays. There's a $5 book your site fee. And then there's a $2.64 credit card fee.
Last
So-
two, you're not gonna get that,
I-
I'm assuming,
Right.
so you can't.
I don't get the cart fee either.
Any of those last three, we would.
So you're talking the $110. So, I mean,
I would support giving back the amount of money less what we cannot recover from our expenses.
But our other policy is there's still a $50 charge, right?
for cabins, halls and lodges, yes, it's a $50
Still a 50.
as long as they cancel at least 2 weeks prior to the event.
So with that, can we modify that to since pavilions are typically cheaper?
Mhm.
Could we modify that to a $25 charge? Or something like that, so there's still,
You change the fee schedule.
You would have to
or
change,
just-
I
I
would
know,
suggest
I know.
changing the fee schedule.
we would have to change the fee schedule to that. But if we have it for cabins and other
I mean, I
buildings,
think one thing you could look at is if we're able to re-rent it,
Mhm.
then we could look at some kind of refund. In my mind, that I would be agreeable to that, but what if somebody calls tomorrow for 2 days from now? We've got a policy that's pretty well stated that we're not gonna refund money, and now we're gonna change all that for one person. I mean, I don't wanna lose my money either, and I understand where John's coming up with credit card disputes, but our policy is our policy.
so any further discussion? So hearing I'm tending to side to lean with John with his thoughts on it, that we can do this, but then we'd have to review the policy and review our fee schedule to see if there's any way timeline we could adjust it to make it more. I mean, a 5-month period's a long time to be able to re-rent something. I think we could re-rent it during that time period.
How often has this come up before?
It came up a couple of times last year, and that's why the town board gave me the authority to make that discretion under extraordinary
Yeah.
circumstances.
So if
I
we
don't think
refund-
this is an extraordinary circumstance,
Yeah.
so
So that's why you're here.
that's why I'm in front of you. Yeah.
So if we refund this person, shouldn't we refund the other two as well?
What do you mean the other two?
The other
Well,
two
the
we
other
ref-
two,
That we kept their money.
They did get refunded, I believe.
I honestly, I don't recall. I don't recall how we did that.
Judgment call on it.
Yeah.
Were they for the same thing?
Pardon me?
Were they for the same thing? I mean, pavilion? Or was it a cabin?
Things-
I honestly
Fort
don't
Lodge, I
recall.
think, was one
I
of them.
honestly do not recall.
You either have a policy or you don't.
Right.
I mean, we can certainly look at that. I can, my office can work with Lindsay and kind of look at those kinds of things. Be happy to do that.
What is the difference between, or let me ask you this. Why the reasoning of being able to allow refunds for cabins, lodges, but not for the pavilion?
I think it's just the initial cost for I mean, Rotary is our most expensive pavilion at $110 if you're a non-resident. But if you're a resident, it's 85 or something like that.
This was all based on cost.
It's based on cost.
And
Yeah.
the other facilities,
Mhm.
we allow the people to get a refund of their money if they cancel within what period of time?
2 weeks prior to the reservation, but we still keep $50 of that.
Then I would say, based on the length of time, and this, I mean, this person called 5 months ahead of time, what I'm hearing. And if we give back everything but $50 on the other facilities that we rent, I think that we ought to hold true to that and be customer friendly in this instance.
So what do we do about if they're doing Pierce Park where the rentals are only $30?
You tell me, what do we do?
Do we refund them
refund
or do we not?
Can I make a suggestion? Jim, I think you had a very good.
Yes.
Now, maybe you come up with, there's nothing to say you can't refund this lady's money after you revisit the policy.
Right.
You could say to the lady, hey, thank you for bringing this to our attention. We're gonna revisit the policy. And as Jared said, maybe it's $25 on pavilions. And then after you have that policy, then maybe you make a decision.
Oh, the whole land.
Hold on till we review it. And I mean, this is something we can review as the ordinance committee if we wanted to do that too.
Well, it's the fee schedule.
So it
Oh,
It's the fee schedule.
would have to be put together and then we'd have to approve it next month.
So I mean, like I said, I'm willing to work with Lindsay, our parks coordinator, the town clerk's office and her working together. if Doug's okay with that. And to
And I
come
don't
up
hear,
with.
I don't
a
hear Lindsay
suggestion.
objecting to working on it. So don't unmute her. I just don't hear her objecting.
I'd just like to say, in my
Yeah.
opinion, I don't think the other pavilions, it really makes sense for you to touch them at all because they're $35, $40, $50.
Well, Holden's more
This,
expensive.
this
yeah.
particular pavilion.
It's the lakeside
Is
pavilion.
the only one that is, breaking that $100 level. And I mean, I think maybe it's just simply rolling that into the other existing policy that we use for the other Forum Lodge and the larger facilities that are a higher cost of rental. I mean, that whole fee schedule is gonna be changing pretty soon anyway, when we're
Yeah.
upgrading all the
When we have the new
cabins.
cabin
So,
up there.
but I think the only change that really needs to be made is that maybe this should roll into with the others, and then this person will end up getting exactly what we would have done in that case, which is everything but the $50, so.
So we do have a motion on the table.
Yep.
Would you be willing to withdraw your motion?
No,
Okay,
I mean, I think Gene is asking us to act on this now.
well, we would,
If we can subsequently
we
visit.
would change the motion that we could look at it after the fee schedule is drawn, is redone,
So if he withdraws, then you're gonna direct me to work with Lindsay
and then
to,
bring it back next month.
we can do that.
Are you okay?
I
Are
can-
you,
I'm okay with that.
are you okay with doing it that way?
Yes. I'm
To
okay.
withdraw the motion with the direction that you'll work on that, bring an updated fee schedule, taking into account what Adeline mentioned. Any other thoughts on it that we can come back and have that?
So you just want us to consider,
For clear direction from Gene and like Lindsay and stuff. So you're just suggesting adding Holden Pavilion. and-
Rotary, just Rotary Pavilion.
Oh,
Yeah,
Rotary.
it's the same
Rotary
pavilion, Holden.
Just Rotary Pavilion to, well, Holden Rotary, you're saying. both.
No, just Rotary, because
Holden is
is-
75,
85 for non-resident rate.
yeah.
And the resident rate-
You're just talking about Rotary Pavilion adding for the same and then leaving the rest the same, right? So that's a quick, easy change.
Yes,
They could do that by motion tonight.
they can do that when we do the fee
Yeah, that's all
schedule
you're doing.
reservation.
Make that motion tonight when we get to that. fee
Right.
schedule, And then we can just take care of it.
Correct.
We don't have
Oh,
it.
yeah, that's all.
There's a resolution on your
There
agenda
actually is a
to
reservation
amend the
about the
fee
fee
schedule.
schedule.
That's right, so we can do it there.
Yeah.
So
Is that what you,
are you, so you're okay with that? Then we'll, you sure? Okay,
fantastic,
so Dave's gonna withdraw his motion.
sounds good.
We had a lot of talk
Sorry to.
back at it. No, that's
Sorry about
okay.
that. I tried, but, so, all right.
Okay,
Any other questions for me regarding my report or any of the resolutions that I put forward on the town board? Road dedications, that kind of stuff.
no,
Okay.
thank you for doing that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
Shauna, do you have anything at this time? Okay,
I
thank,
do not, thank you.
all right, thanks. Lindsay?
I do, because I know it's so important to you, Mr. Supervisor. I do have the birthday list. So I want to wish
ahead, read 'em.
Kristen Bartolota, Phyllis Goodwin, Carl Saylor, Scott Neal, Tyler White, and Todd Wood a happy birthday.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Happy
No
birthday
problem.
to all of them. Thanks for saving us. All right, town manager, Doug, do you have anything?
Just one quick thing. We have a resolution on the agenda tonight about insurance. When we get to other business, I have one quick thing I need to bring to your attention. I need to mention.
Okay.
On the insurance.
All right. The only thing in addition to my monthly financial reports, I do want to share a couple things. I gave the town board a copy of the Ontario County EMS and Fire Study Report. We will have discussions on this further. This is not in the agenda packet. This is just for town board information. They have some recommendations. We will have this posted. This is on the county website, but I'll make sure this gets posted to the town websites. We have that information there. But that was it took quite a while for that study to come through and get finished. And also, the county is putting out requests for an RFP for the ARPA Community Grant Program. And what that means is the county has the ability to take some of the ARPA money, the stimulus money, and become a grant agency and grant that to community partners who might need it for a variety of reasons that I'm not going to get into what they could be, because there could be multiple reasons. So there's an RFP out for a grant managing agency, because it's typically illegal for the county to act as a grant agency unless it's for ARPA money, which has never happened before. So that's why that is going to happen. So that RFP should be moving forward and finalized in the next few months. And then you might hear in the news that these ARPA grants are available and people are accessing some of this grant money. So if you know people,
That's additional federal funding.
this is part of the county's federal money that came in
Got it.
that is being designated. No new money coming in for that. Okay, town board committees, finance.
Nothing at this time. We're going to be meeting on Thursday to talk a little bit more about funds and the fund policy.
And,
10:45 Thursday.
PPR, Terry.
We met last week, the week before last, talking about some water projects with town of Farmington, their board and our board. The Canandaigua Farmington Water District project. We kind of, in essence, green lighted it to go ahead. So they'll be going ahead, pursuing that, putting together a resolution, going out looking for bids. Push the project along. Eventually that'll come to us for approval, as it did just about a year ago. So also County Road 8 and County Road 8 and
North Road.
North Road, we'll discuss some more projects will be moving forward. This is news to you, and not to us. We're there. That's
Okay.
Terry, are you meeting on Good Friday?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
Friday, 10 o'clock.
All right, ordinance, John.
We continue to work through the short-term rental language, and I'm hoping we can wrap that up here at our next meeting.
All right,
Keep my fingers crossed.
excellent. Economic development,
No
Dave.
report yet.
Okay. More assignments coming down to the Economic Development Committee, and meetings will be following shortly. I did receive a report from Mark McNeil for the Parks and Rec meeting, but his report was that he has no report. And they did not meet in February, but they will be meeting March 22nd for their next meeting. I believe that is a Wednesday. Cemetery Committee, their report came out and they continue to work on headstone restoration. The cemeteries within the town. And then project teams, and only because they are here. Karen, do you have anything to add?
Well, we didn't meet this past month. We're planning on a meeting on Friday,
Okay,
and we have the survey that Sarah sent out a
excellent.
couple of months ago. We'll go over
Okay.
that, and also the recent news that you were sent.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. And then Dennis, do you have anything for the tree team? You're the de facto tree team member here.
It says quarterly, no, we met last week and we're setting up dates to visit the town properties, the town, the parks and the cemeteries. We are working on a heritage tree program for the town. Most communities have something like this, the city has something, so we're working on that. That's about it.
Okay, thank you so much. That takes us to our next privilege of the floor. Yeah. All right,
We're asking if anybody wanted to speak during privilege of the floor.
so we'll excuse Terry for 1 second. We will go to the privilege of the floor. Is there anyone who would like to be heard at this time? And anyone online? Okay, seeing no hands. We will move to our resolutions and motions. We do not have any continued resolutions. And if we do have any that are on a 2-to-2 line, then we'll have to come back to them when Terry's here. Just to see where we are on those. Just the way, just,
Voted on right now before he gets back.
yeah, we could block them all and vote on them and then adjourn the meeting and then he
I
can
don't
be
know
on
if
his,
I want to thank Gary Jones. That seems.
he can be on his merry way. Okay, resolution number 79, thanking Gary Jones for his years of service on the Town Agricultural Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 80, accepting the monthly financial reports.
So move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution number 81, acknowledgement and authorization of budget transfers by the town manager.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution number 82, acknowledging the cancellation of outstanding checks for receiver of taxes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 83, petty cash for the town clerk office.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Jean, did you just want to explain like you did in finance committee, why we do that?
So yes, now that there are 4 clerks in the office, it was a recommendation from the New York State Comptroller's office and as well as conferences that I've attended, that each clerk has their own petty cash drawer. So the maximum that I can have is $500. So each of us would have $125 in their cash drawer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion on that one? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution 84, amendments to the 2023 fee schedule.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'm assuming there might be some discussion on this one.
Yeah. I'd like to move that we add the Rotary Pavilion to the fee schedule refund policy.
If your
However you
motion,
want me to make it, so.
your motion, I think, sounded like adding quote, comma, with the exception of Rotary Pavilion, end quote, to the bullet point, third from the bottom on the on attachment number 5.
That sounds exactly like what I was planning to say, Chris Madler. That's what I would like to move to say that.
So, Mr. Jackie, would you read the whole thing without attorney talk? Thank you.
So, the bullet point above that says cancellations made a minimum of 2 weeks prior to the arrival date will be eligible for a refund minus a $50 cancellation fee. Period. The town clerk has the authority to refund the entire reservation amount for extenuating circumstances. The next bullet point currently states there are no refunds for pavilion cancellations. Adeline's motion would make it there are no refunds for pavilion cancellations, comma, with the exception of Rotary Pavilion, thereby making it eligible for the refund provision above. Jean, does that make sense to you?
It does.
You okay with that?
Is that gonna work
Good.
okay for you guys?
Okay.
So we need a second.
All right, so
John just.
we have a motion to amend. We have a second. Any further discussion?
What if we can't rent it? What if in that 2-week period, we're unable to rent that pavilion?
That happens with the other ones.
Well, that would happen with a cabin too, in a 2-week period. And we'd be at a greater loss with a cabin.
Mhm.
So I'm not as concerned about the about
$110.
about the financials of that one.
Right.
So,
It's not 110, it's 60.
yeah, any further,
Oh, landscape.
yeah,
Right.
any further discussion on that? All right, so all in favor of the resolution as amended,
Aye.
opposed? Carries.
It's on the motion.
I did it on the amendment, on the resolution as amended. Is that okay? Are you good with that? Okay.
And Doug, thank you for bringing up that solution.
Yeah. Okay, resolution number 85, authorization for the town manager to execute insurance renewal agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on this one?
I had a couple of questions during the finance committee meeting, which I think Doug has heard about. One was why we were declining cyber liability.
We've actually, over the years, the cost of cyber liability insurance continues to just escalate way above what it's worth. And we actually have a fantastic in-house IT team that we work through, we constantly are updating. And the other thing is the deductibles. What happens is the companies continue to increase the deductibles. So you'll pay like $25,000 and then have a $50,000 deductible. When I mean, it's not, that's why, it's just not something.
Okay. And then the equipment breakdown went up by 10%. I was just wondering why.
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on here, and I want to explain this more in general, and I'll get back to that specific in a second. Houston Casualty Company has been our carrier now for the last, I think, 4 years. Each year, our insurance broker, which is Canada Insurance Group, shops for us to get us the best rates. And our policy is April 1st of each year to March 31st of each year. So what happens is, like they've done every year, they shop different carriers for us, including Travelers, including Selective. Zurich is another insurance company. And Houston Casualty came back for us with the best quote. Houston Casualty, there's a couple things I just want to share with you to help you understand about this. So for instance, Travelers price was an additional 15% higher than Houston Casualty. Selective was similar, but the coverage wasn't as good, and they don't offer public officers, which means we have to go out and buy that separately, which would be even an additional cost to Houston Casualty. The other thing is what we were told, and I just had a meeting today with the insurance company. Houston Casualty originally came back with a 20% increase. The insurance broker went back to them and said, it's kind of regular all places. You work so closely together, which is so true. Houston Casualty Company has come out, they've done site visits. Jim just did it for us recently, earlier this year, where they walked around property, they gave us suggestions. We've had multiple potential insurance claims, possible lawsuits that they've worked through us. We've worked with them. And so they rated us as one of their elite members. What the insurance agent told me today is that Houston Casualty Company has declined the renewal of a lot of municipal policies, but because they do rank us higher, they went ahead and offered the renewal. They offered it at 20% increase, and he was able to talk them down to 15%. Now, specifically relative to your question of equipment, the way that this works is every year, as Jim buys a new truck, like this truck that's getting ready to come on, it comes onto the policy, but they don't charge us for it until the next year. So that's why the equipment is higher, because it's catching up on stuff that has come up. Plus, they assign a value to our property and our equipment. And so they actually, due to inflation, they did increase the property values overall 4%. So
I figured that was.
which is actually
incredibly low.
Yeah.
low, and that was
Yeah.
after negotiation with our insurance.
Yeah, I figured it was something, that was a little bit out of where the other figures were, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to confirm it, so.
So it's honestly, it's a really.
Yeah.
And it's well within budget.
Yep, absolutely.
The one thing I would note, we always break this down, the resolution itself doesn't say it, but we don't need to fix the resolution, I just want to let you know how we need to record this. In 2022, part of this overall, the total bill for the insurance 4/1/23 to 3/31/24 would be $116,502.98. In 2022, $11,512 of that was paid by Canada Consolidated Water District, because that's the current water district, but also. So knowing that it's going up 15%, that 15% increase means Canada Consolidated would be paying $13,238 with that $103,000 plus or minus.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. Any further questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Resolution number 86, acceptance of the 2022 annual drinking water quality report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution 87, acknowledgement of the E-Waste Plus annual report.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution number 88, Old Brookside subdivision, sections 5 and 6, acceptance of dedication of roadway, which is Overlook Lane and Daisy Way, and infrastructure including water main and storm sewer for sections 5 and 6 of the Old Brookside subdivision. Authorization for town clerk to file necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
I was not opposed in case that came off that way.
Oh, no, you're
Just
good.
delayed,
Just delayed, just delayed.
just delayed,
You're good.
not opposed, just late. Resolution 89, rescinding the 6-month moratorium on the review approval, permitting and or construction of large-scale solar energy systems in the town of Canandaigua imposed by local law number 1 of the year 2023.
So move.
So you can take your pick.
first, John second.
Yeah, take your pick, Gene. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And that's local law number 3.
So rescinding number 1 is number 3.
They,
I was thoughtful. The word.
they did it on the Constitution. So, and they did it with the amendments, so we can do it here.
We've rescinded the
We can,
Constitution.
we can
There's
rescind,
no-
yeah, we can rescind an amendment. We can rescind an amendment, so we can do that here. Resolution 90, secret determination of non-significance and adoption of a text code amendment to Town Code Chapter 220-9 regulations applicable to all districts.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
And that is number 4.
Go figure. Resolution number 91, appointment of deputy town clerk full-time.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Welcome, Crystal.
Yeah. She will be here shortly, I'm sure.
She's already been here.
No, she'll be sitting there
Oh.
Nice.
training and and learning away. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution 92, appointing Samantha Stryker to the vacant position on the town's agricultural advisory committee.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. Is it possible to get the resumes submitted to the town board from all the committees? Previously, ahead of time? I'd like to see them just to see who we're. appointing
Yep.
to these different-
And that is definitely something that we can put in as a request. We can get it from the ag. I don't know if the ag committee received one. I don't know if they received.
I attended that meeting.
Did they receive one from her?
Samantha was on, I believe she was on the committee before.
Yeah, and she left.
And she left.
Right.
And now she's coming, wants to come back. I mean, her brother's on committee as well.
Yeah.
So
So,
she's a very, very good candidate.
And
for
I-
the ag.
I accept the fact that the committee
Yeah.
nominated her and feel comfortable. I just.
But you would-
I agree with John North.
yeah, but you would like this, and I think I can speak as well, and I think there's a consensus that going forward with any of the committees, or whether it be ECB, whether it be ZBA, whether it be planning board, that the town board is more part of that
See the
process going
resumes.
through, meeting with the people and talking to them. Yeah, that's something that we can,
We just talked about that.
Yeah.
for a second. What we've done in the past is when they are going to an interview, maybe to have them inform you.
Yep.
If you want to.
and then we can go.
You could.
Yeah.
Instead of them having to come and meet
Yeah.
separately.
Yep.
again with you.
And then we can have at least 2 of us. We couldn't have any more than two of us if it's a private interview or if it's just a separate meeting. But we could have 2 of us go there and sit through the interview process.
Why
And
don't
that can
I-
become a policy too. I mean, an informal
I feel like
They're really
the
necessary.
planning board and zoning board used to get interviewed by the town board. They used to have the town board interview.
Way, like, many years ago, but since,
Yes,
I would
they
say in
did.
the last 7-8 years, what the town board said is instead of the town board doing all those interviews and hauling everybody in before you were actually going to let the committees that are going to be working with these people make the recommendation, but.
Committees,
like,
yes, but I feel like the planning board and zoning board are a very different situation than, you know, the ag committee, for example. I personally think I would rather have the town board have a lot more oversight and be part of the interviewing process for the ZBA and planning board. So,
But in this situation, if we just had her resume, like in this
Yes,
case,
as a
Samantha
committee
Stryker,
person,
committee
absolutely.
sends forth something to put in the pack that says, hey,
Oh,
here she is.
absolutely.
And we
Just so-
can-
And in this situation, maybe just a little paragraph. so
Yeah.
this is
Right,
how we
right. I
know
mean,
we're-
their recommendation, why the ag committee's recommended would be nice just to have. I attended it, so I got to meet her, so, but you didn't, so it would be nice to.
So that we're aware.
Yes,
See the resume.
I agree. But
And-
different situation than one.
Right, and
Yeah,
with
I-
this, I mean, if the thoughts and I don't know where other, I know where Terry, I know where you are on the process of doing
Right
that.
behind
And I don't know where John and Dave are with it, if you want more oversight of the board in the planning board and ZBA process. That's something that we could put together and bring forward at the next meeting if we needed to formalize it more.
If you're asking for my opinion,
Yeah,
I would rather empower the committees that we've empowered to look at those
Committees
candidates.
or boards.
Boards, and then put those names forward. So if there was a obstacle, it would happen here and with their recommendation to give them that power to do that. That's what they do. And
You feel the same way for the zoning board and the
I
planning board?
do. I'm talking about zoning board, planning board. for specifically.
And I feel the same way as Dave, particularly with the zoning board, because the zoning board is supposed to act as an independent entity, separate and apart from our town board. So I'd hate to have anyone say, well, there was some, encouragement by the town board to do this or that. So I'm with Dave. I'd just as soon have the committees or the boards that are doing that work, continue to do that work.
and if that seems where consensus is going, I like more oversight, like Adeline was saying, but also if we have more people who sit in and make sure we have 2 people sitting in on the committees and the interviews, I think that can help.
I
Get us
just, I
closer
feel
to
like
that
the
process.
planning board and the zoning board make a lot of extremely important decisions for the town. And I'd like to have the town board be more part of the process of selecting who we are putting on the planning board and zoning board. That's my opinion.
So and we can discuss further and bring it back and see where we are after a little bit and bring it back to, if we wanted to bring it back for a
I'd
resolution.
be more, just talking about it, I'd be more receptive with the planning board than I would be with the zoning.
So we can have further discussion and see if we want to put it and bring it forward as a resolution.
So what do you
Um,
want us to put in the minutes on that?
Discussion. is
Oh,
held.
lots of
More
discussion.
information will be provided.
Yeah, we're not
Further
taking any
discussion?
action.
The town
We'll-
board
we're-
will we have further discussion.
we'll have further
regarding candidates
discussion.
to the planning board and
Yes,
zoning board.
yeah, we don't have any decision ready to make tonight.
Very good.
I did get word from Tim that he and his sister would not fight on the ag committee. He promised me that, because as I was talking to him the other night, he promised that they would not fight and they would get along on that.
We still have to vote on that. by the
I
way.
know, so any further discussion, I'm not afraid to ask that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolution 93, approving request to surplus the generator.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? This was the generator that was at the fire station in Uptown. And we did replace the other one, so now the fire station doors will actually open if the power goes out, which is very beneficial to get the trucks out. So we will be surplusing the old one going forward. Resolution 94, authorization to proceed with mixed-use zoning referral to the planning board for an advisory report.
Mr. Chairman, there was a modification to this.
Yes, thank you. We do have a modified amendment, and this one. Can we scroll down to 94? And this, I'm just making sure that this one,
This did not have the red line.
all right.
On the end drive, so I can pull that up.
There was a resolution in some of the bookkeeping on this, the names on this amendment. Do we have a copy to put up? There we go. All right, so this is the, and this is the updated, and this was, I believe, indicated and put out in time. So we don't need to make an amendment. Am I correct, Mr. Nadel?
Correct.
That this was put out in time that we don't need to make an amendment. That was, so we're okay going forward?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're good going forward. Okay.
He's a jerk. She's asking me about it.
She gave it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
No, I got it.
Okay, so resolution 94, authorization to proceed with mixed use zoning referral to planning board for advisory report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I would, yeah, probably some discussion. In looking in this project and meeting with multiple neighbors. Oh, thank you. I was gonna bring it up on here so I could look at it, but then nobody else can see what's on my iPad in front of me. Some of the, so there's several concerns that I've heard, and I want to express some of that feedback. There's several concerns that I have regarding this project. Number one is the density. This is 51 units, and in the intent letter, the intent indicated once this project is done, they would like to proceed and do similar, the same thing with the 20 acres to the south. So they want to continue the project with the density and with the townhomes there. My concern is safety with the amount of traffic that is on Brickyard Road. It continues to grow with Center Point on the other side, on the north end of Brickyard. There is tremendous growth in that area as well. So that will continue to bring traffic in. I worry about the development right over the gas easement. I know there's a neighbor who had issues putting a driveway over a gas easement, that same one, and now this will be a private drive for a development for that same thing. So that's another concern that I have. And again, it's my common refrain, but if I look at this and I look at the number of potential townhomes and rentals that will be going up in the uptown area, the potential hundreds of similar units, I begin to worry about the saturation of that and the lack of single-family standalone homes that we're building in the town. That is a concern. And if we want to continue to grow and remain vibrant as a community, we don't have many opportunities to direct developers and encourage them if it's within the existing zoning. This is an opportunity that we have to do that. So I would ask the town board not to vote to move this to the planning board, even though our vote to move it to the planning board is only procedural. It would come back to us. I can't support this as it is currently constituted. I would hate to send it forward, have the developer put in time and effort and money continuing with the development of the project, in my mind, knowing that as it sits right now, I can't support it. If they were to come back with half a dozen single-family homes, 16 single-family homes, ask for bonus density because they'd be feeling that need, I'd be more than willing to listen to that.
How large is this parcel?
7 acres.
7 acres. So you said that if this was approved, if they're allowed to do this, your intent was to go to the south.
Yeah, that's in their intent letter. It said that in their application letter, they'd like to continue it to the next 20 acres.
So just, that'd be roughly 3 times that number.
Yeah.
Perhaps 2 to 3. And we'd be adding 150 to 200
More unit, yeah, total units on that corner.
Right across the street, across Thomas Road, you have a similar type construction.
The single
And
townhomes.
going up Brickyard Road is again,
Mhm.
similar type. Oh.
There's also buffering shown between them and the residential property right
Yeah,
next to them there to the north.
I have to throw out there that, you know, I think the fact that we have similar types of development right across the road, the risk is really being borne by the developer. If he thinks that there's a demand in the marketplace for this type of housing, I would assume that he's gonna know more about that demand than we are. And he's the one that's putting his money where his mouth is, or his money where his ideas are. So I'm a little concerned with us saying, well, it's okay to do it in Uptown because they got to the line first than it is for this particular developer, because he's coming to the game maybe a month or two later than the other one is, and tell him he can't do this when he thinks that there is this type of demand in the community. And I gotta say, I think that was borne out by the development that's across the street adjacent to this. So I understand what you're saying, but I have to question, you know, what's the right answer?
So what's the density across the street? Kind of the same density?
Can I help you guys out? Let me come to the microphone just so. There's a couple of things here that you guys are talking about, and I just want to make sure everybody understands.
So across the street, the townhomes that are across the street, that's part of a planned unit development as part of a PUD. So this is completely different. And like Uptown, that is form-based code, completely different.
Yeah.
This parcel today is, I'm pretty sure it's zoned R130.
It's our one.
So that means that single family residential, 30,000, that is what's allowed to be built today. They could come in with an application, pull a permit, and it would never come before you.
Oh, that's
This request is for a rezoning request to utilize the mixed use overlay. And so what they're asking you to do is either to rezone the property to mixed use overlay or not. If you rezone it to mixed use overlay, they would be allowed to build these based on the code. If you say no, and I know because I was just talking to Nadler about this, but if you say no, then they can't. They would have to build single family
Single family
residential.
homes.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, come back to you with a different plan.
with a
that you
different
might
plan.
like.
And that's where I'm,
that was very helpful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
explain
and
that.
sorry, I didn't, yeah, thank you for,
That was good.
It's in the MUO allowed area right now, so
Yeah,
it's
so it's
just
not-
not,
it
it's
just
not
means
part of the
that they can
MUO.
request it. It
Yes,
doesn't mean that that
exactly.
is. bringing-
So we don't have to, and that's where I was going back in the beginning. You know, I just worry about, you know, and I totally respect the fact that it's their money and it's their project and they know the market. And we all know that if you're just going for bottom line, you can get a heck of a lot more by sticking 4 units where you might stick a single house. But I also know that we have the stewardship to make sure that we meet all the needs for everyone coming in the town and all opportunities. And I really feel, in talking to people, I feel that it's an area that we're missing. It's an area that we're starting to lose as compared to the neighbors around us. And, you know, it's not zoned for that. So, and again, if they come back and they say, we want to, it's zoned R130, I'd like to have a discussion about seeing what we could do to get some homes in there, maybe change, because we'd have to be able to change density. Who knows what discussions we would have? But I would be much more agreeable to that. I'm not comfortable changing the zoning.
I think Doug's explanation was very helpful. I appreciate that very much.
Yes.
I did not recognize, my bad. I didn't recognize that was a change from Earth.
And I should have prefaced that in the beginning, so I apologize for not doing that.
My misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So I lean towards where you're coming from.
I do too.
Yeah, if it's-
It also has a negative effect on the school district not having the single families as well.
Yeah.
We're losing single families, so.
Yeah,
But that's not really our concern. It's building single family houses. Cost of those is probably,
it
well, I
is.
don't know what the,
Oh, it's higher than those, that's true.
odds are you aren't gonna get.
Yeah. We can
Single
hold.
families can't afford,
We can hold.
The other thing, if I could just add in there, so there are some other constraints, because I want to be careful too, that we're not necessarily setting the precedent here, right? Because we have other mixed use overlays. We know that there's some concerns. You guys talked about the density, you talked about the traffic. We know that there's some infrastructure concerns with this particular property being a low point. So this is a little bit different than some of the other parcels. Is your interest, whether you vote yes or no on the resolution, would you consider a updated, something maybe less dense from the same developer for this? Would you like to see an application like that? Or a mixture of things? My only concern is, again, it's a rezoning request. So if you're going to rezone it to mixed use overlay, then there's any number of things that can all.
Yeah.
Right.
I have no intention to rezone it right now to mixed use overlay. That's where I am right now. Keep it R130. And if it stays, you know, and if it's there, they acquired it knowing that's what it was, then find something that'll fit or wait until the market changes and see how things play out down the road.
Yeah, allowed to speak.
We have, at the end, we have privilege of the floor. So if you want to share some thoughts at the end. So any other comments or questions on that? All right, so regarding resolution number 94, the rezoning, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed by saying nay?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, so it does not carry.
And that's for the reasons stated
Well,
The density.
by
Do
the
we-
supervisor. And then, you know.
We got it.
you got it?
Well, but- so we also have to indicate that.
Do we have-
The town board rejects or does not intend to rezone.
To rezone to mixed use overlay.
That by consensus,
For that plan.
Yeah,
they voted to deny the thing.
yes.
Why do we have to put in?
Why do we have to put reasons?
Because it's a, because
Do we
it's a
what?
decision by the board that needs to be supported by some facts.
Okay,
You said all the facts.
okay.
So the
I'm
findings of
comfortable with that.
facts would be density, location,
Safety,
underground
traffic,
utilities. I guess,
traffic, safety.
Traffic.
Safety. Okay,
Is that okay? Do you have enough to go from with that?
Okay,
we'll make it work.
good.
All right.
Oh, and an incomplete application sheet.
Yeah, there is another, there is another issue of the application that it wasn't signed by the property owner, which technically invalidates it. So that is another reason. Didn't play into our discussion, but it's another reason to take into account. Okay, can I get approval of the February minutes from our strategic planning session and our regular town board meeting?
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion, changes, deletions? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved. Payment of the bills. Jean or Heather?
Heather.
Heather, go for it.
Let's go, Heather.
Lots of numbers there.
Yeah, utility abstract dated March 8th, 2023 totaling $35,277.71. General fund, $27,090.28. Highway fund, $478.02. Lighting district, $1,298.91. Water district, $6,410.50. Town board abstract dated March 20th, 2023 totaling $1,923,806.26. General fund is $131,102.90. Highway fund is $237,541.51. Capital projects, $41,554.37. Drainage districts, $4,953.90. Fire protection, $1,490,000. Water district, $18,653.58.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the bills?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, bills are paid.
Is that Terry and Dave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For other business, did you have,
Yes, we do. Real quick thing. So
okay,
You may or may not be aware, in the next month, the group that we've been working with, Inclusion Motion, is preparing to move forward with the construction, begin plans for the construction of the pavilion next to the playground. The current playground, Motion Junction, is closed. We intend to keep it closed through. But we plan to keep the playground closed through construction of the new pavilion. There's a couple of weeks. There's a lot of work that's going to be done immediately adjacent to the playground. A lot of big cranes coming in. This is a large pavilion. We've got about a half a dozen subcontractors that are doing different parts, none of which are being hired by the town. They're all being hired by a team that we're working with, our friends over at. I'll mute them just for a second. They're being hired by our friends over at Inclusion in Motion, and then everything is being done. And so, for instance, like FG Rayburn is coming in and doing concrete work. Then there's piping people coming in. There's New Energy Works is then coming in and building a pavilion. And then there's a whole separate roofer. There's separate electricians, yada, yada, yada. With all that said, this is different than the construction of the playground. We were very involved. Jim's crew was leading. We're almost acting a little bit more hands-off in the construction of this. And I was talking to the insurance agent today, and I asked him what it would be just to protect us with a builder's risk and liability policy, since we're going to have all of these subcontractors working on town property adjacent to a playground. Even with the playground being closed, we've already seen people going into it and everything else. And you're going to have cranes, you're going to have everything because this is a big pavilion. What he said to me is, because of the window that we're talking about, if about $3,500, and the amount not to exceed $3,500. In my opinion, I think that's well worth the expense of it, because it's going to protect us from.
What's the coverage?
Couple $1 million. It's our standard umbrella stuff.
Okay.
It comes under the.
So builder's risk covers, you know,
Yeah.
if your crane drops something on somebody,
Right.
that's your general liability.
Yeah.
It also covers during construction, if, for example, your pavilion tips over and crushes the $500,000 worth of playground equipment. It's a little different than the standard.
Which, keep in mind, that's exactly what happened across the street with the construction of the Cheshire Fire Station 2.
Oh, yeah.
It collapsed during construction, and that's actually what the example
yeah.
we were using, right? I doubt very seriously, because this is a donated thing, they're gonna come back and say, oh, we'll rebuild it for you, right? So that's why this $3,500, I feel like is
Yeah.
insurance.
Is that on?
Anticipate that playground closed.
Well, until, right, so, but the thought process right now is approximately, give or take, early June. We try, the original date was we're trying really hard for Memorial Day to open it back up with the pavilion. I know Jim's crew and everybody's working on it, they're having meetings in terms of planning for it, but it's really gonna depend on the subcontractors. The other thing that I was just talking to Chris about, that I talked to the insurance company about today, is actually getting agreements in place, because this is different than the playground. I really would like to get agreements in place between us, the not-for-profit, the Inclusion in Motion, and all these subcontractors, that they're providing us proof of insurance, holding the town on this additional insurance, and that everybody has an understanding that Inclusion in Motion is hiring the services that are being paid for by them, and this is a donation to the town, but we're not going to be responsible if all of a sudden, now they have the money, but just in
No,
case,
we need to,
just to cover ourselves.
we need to
So we
meet on
haven't done
that.
that before, because the playground is different. So what I'd like to ask is a motion for authorize me to do builder's risk policy, so I can get that immediately, and then I'd like to work with Natalie on these
Maybe
agreements.
the motion could be, you know, authorize town manager to purchase the builder's risk policy as discussed at a cost not to exceed $3,500, and authorizing the town manager and town attorney to take such steps as may be necessary to protect the town's interests in the construction of the pavilion at Motion Junction.
I'd like to,
Motions are always long.
yeah, they're very long. And
I'm
I'm,
pretty certain you're gonna forget it.
and I'd like,
And they're almost always just one sentence.
and Nadler, Chris, I'd like to be in on those too, because people will have questions. So
Okay,
include me in on those too.
what it's gonna be,
Just the discussion, just so
comma,
I'm aware.
and the town supervisor to execute said any contracts. That'll get you, and all it's gonna be, I'll probably put together. a few page agreement,
Yeah.
a few pages of agreements.
Yeah.
And then that way you can see it before they get
Yes.
signed.
Thank you.
Can we go so moved from that?
I already did
I
that
think
once.
you
I'll let
better.
you do that this time.
So, can I get a motion to approve Mr. Nadler's resolution as outlined?
So moved.
Second.
I would have thought you were gonna say ramble.
Any discussion? I was hoping to add the part where he was gonna volunteer to keep night security on the parcel.
I've been doing it all
It's a
winter.
great idea.
Liar.
I'm the guy with the flashlight.
Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
Thank you. I think
Yep.
that's needed on that.
Oh, yes, definitely worth $3,500.
Yeah. All right, so privilege of the floor. Would you like to be, Cheryl, you want to be heard? So Cheryl and John, you'd like to be heard? Okay. So if you could state your name
Thank you.
for the record.
Well, good evening. My name is Cheryl Borneville, and I live 5529 Thomas Road. So when you look at this nice new development that they have proposed, they're right next to me. They're going to be breathing down my neck. When my husband and I purchased this land, and it's funny that it comes back to Terry Dukowski, but there was an agreement and there was things that were written up. And I wish I could find that written agreement. Believe me, I looked and looked and looked for an hour and a half. I went to every piece of paper in my safe. Because in that agreement, it states that there will be nothing more than single-family homes built on Thomas Road, because Terry had owned all that land. And that it behind us to the south, where they're proposing this other 20-acre development, would always be forever wild. Well, I've seen a lot of development on that road since 1988, and I've seen enough. And it's been forced down my throat. And we have a wonderful airport. We have a wonderful Mercy Flight development over there. We have got all of these other developers. When Farish came in and started building all those townhouses across the street, and then they brought him down across from me. And now they're around the corner and they're going to go down. They're going down that whole area. Enough is enough. I don't need 150 some odd new neighbors, and that's just one person in a unit, because if they develop around the south, I don't need 300 new neighbors, please. So I thank you for naying the rezoning of this property, and I hope that you will keep supporting that, because I don't want all these new neighbors. Not to mention the wildlife. Since they built the new townhouses down Thomas Road this past couple of years, we have been infested, myself and a lot of my neighbors, we've been infested with rats and mice. We've always had mice, but the rats. I now have possums, I now have skunks, I have fox, I have got squirrels. I've never had a squirrel in any of my feeders. I've got squirrels now. The wildlife has all moved to the south behind me. The deer in my backyard every night, the turkey is in my backyard every night. The wildlife is phenomenal, not to mention the coyotes. But when they start developing all that, where is that wildlife gonna go? You've taken enough away from them. We don't need to take any more. So that is my speech,
All right.
and thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Karen, you have.
John Arthur, 2240 Brickyard Road. I appreciate the nay to the rezoning. I live right around the corner since 1998. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but I am pro development. I'm just not pro townhomes and apartments. I work for the school, and I'm for you to say that the school district isn't your concern, Mr. Fenley, is concerning to me. The school district is a lifeblood of the community. And if you continue to bring in apartments where people don't have kids and are transitory, and transitory kids are part of a school district, you're going to decline your community. I've worked here for 15 years and I'm telling you it's happening, and I'm watching it happen as we build apartments in our community. I would love for you to, I'm not opposed to single family homes. I'm concerned about $350,000 single family homes, We don't need to encourage that building. We have plenty of that down south on the lake. We can build houses for $150,000 and make them 3-bedroom. They can be done. Whether they'll do them or not is because they want to make profit. And profit drives us all, but I'm concerned that if you allow, I think you said 51, depending on one of those as a town, 53. So that's a minimum of 2 or 3 cars per apartment. And I can give you that data because the people across the street from me in one of those townhomes, the standard is 3 cars. 2 people live there, they have 3 cars. I don't understand that. 51 times 2 cars and that intersection coming out onto 332, you're gonna have to change some, you're gonna have some significant highway changes you're gonna have to do if you approve that. Single family homes, you probably can get, if you give them a 1/4 acre, you probably can get 12 or 15 houses in there. Whether they'll do that, I don't know, but I would be in support of that. Thank you.
Karen Parkhurst. I live on Laurel Lane. And I'm astounded that you keep repeating single-family homes. And you know why. Because the single-family home in the town of Canandaigua is an expensive home. And my backyard shows that. 50 years ago, it was all farmland. Now, it's what, 571 houses, all over $400,000 or thereabouts, some much more. You know, we need to be a diverse community. That's what makes communities whole. And a community of wealthy and pseudo-wealthy people is not going to be a vibrant community. That's all. I mean, I'm old, I'm going to die off. But you know what? Your kids are going to see changes. And, you know, you study DEI in different organizations in the school district. And guess what? It's present in our town. It is very present in our town. So single-family homes, expensive single-family homes, and you really cannot build one for $150,000. But in the $300,000 range, you're only dealing with one segment of the population. And I challenge you to start dealing with the entire population because they need to be dealt with.
Thank you, Karen. And I forgot to mention, everybody has 3 minutes. I thought that Mr. Arthur was going to push the 3 minutes, but he did very well.
You're gonna cut me short now?
Huh?
Just you.
Yeah, you got like 45 seconds.
Okay, I'm Ed Lavano. I live on 5600 Thomas Road. In the picture that was up there, you could see the corner of my property. I'm adjacent to this whole thing. I think something that is the biggest issue with me with all of this, and again, thank you for naying this. I have 3 children. When I bought the property 5 years ago, I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize the amount of traffic that was on that road, Brickyard and Thomas. All the car dealerships that are on 332, feels like every single test drive that somebody takes goes down to the dead end, Thomas Road past my house. Mr. Fletcher can probably attest to the road at the end of that, you know, how people just, it's donuts. People go down there. I mean, they test out the cars down there. I just feel like there should be a big stress on that. I'm not against townhomes. I'm not against that. I'm against it in that particular area. The traffic that is already there for people avoiding Main Street, tractor trailers coming the back way to Pactive. When leagues get out at Centerpoint Golf Course on a Wednesday night, Tuesday night, whatever it is, from the stop sign there all the way to the golf course. I mean, it's bumper to bumper. It's ridiculous. I live there. There's nothing to be changed there, but things that going forward, I want to make sure that my voice is heard, that people understand if you don't live there, if you don't do it every day like I do, you don't know, you don't realize. I think a lot of people think it's more of a rural area where it really is building up. So I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard on that. And I encourage, if anything were to proceed in the future, for all of you to come down there and just sit and just watch the traffic.
people blow through that stop sign every single day. I live right there. I'm outside with my kids and my dog, and it's 55 miles an hour. There's not even a foot on the brake. So just wanted to voice my opinion on that. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard at this time? See any online? All right. We do have 2 requests for executive session, both regarding, yeah, so both regarding the sale, lease, or acquisition of property where public discussion could impact its value. I do not anticipate any action being taken. There might be action taken at the end of one of the executive sessions. So if you would like to stay to see what that is, you're more than welcome. Huh? 2 chatty Cathys over here have been talking the whole time.
Sorry, we're trying to figure out the complicated here. No action. Is expected on those requests.
We do not anticipate any action to be taken after the executive session. But we will enter regular session before we adjourn the meeting if you would like to stay for that. Yep, so we will have,
Is that the land acquisition?
yes,
Okay.
so Lindsay will be included in that. I don't think Jim doesn't, from that look in your face, I think you really
Jim's like,
want to
"I'm
stay.
good."
Jim's like, yeah, so
Oh,
Jim.
yeah.
He's like, I'm
Once you
all
sit in a
good.
soundproof conference.
All right, Jim, you're good.
The one with the chain.
That's-
Jim, can you-
No,
Okay, so we've got the land acquisition. and then the second
they're
one.
both land acquisitions.
Yeah, it's also, I've sold a lot of these. You believe how much this was coming?
Yes, yes. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. See ya.
Thank you.
I need a motion before anybody goes.
Oh, wait a minute. Hey, Dave. Can I get a motion to enter executive session? All in favor? Aye. Terry? Aye. Sorry about that.
They're no charge.
That's why Gene's here.
Oh, yeah.
We all started leaving. It would be chaos and bedlam.
Well, no.
All right, we've exited executive session. We're now returning to the regular session of the meeting. We have no further business to take on tonight. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned, 8:59 PM.